January, December meeting, Chris Self raised the question about how should or does the board determine a trespass. And so I went in and revised our public meeting conduct, decorum, and public participation policy. So you should all have a copy. It's a resolution, and then attached to the resolution is the policy that I amended. And the part that I changed is in yellow, the last page.
There's no yellow here.
Just
looking for a copy of it.
Oh, it's
Highlighted,
Okay,
it's gray.
it's shaded.
It's shaded gray.
it's shaded.
Yeah, the last two pages. So those are the board, at the recommendation of Mr. Self, directed me to go ahead and address that issue, so I have that. So I would, Mr. Chairman, ask that we add a 4F, and that 4F would be consider amending the district's policy on public conduct and decorum.
Does anybody on the board have any questions? Is this just given to us, John? Because I don't remember seeing this.
Yeah, I thought I had emailed it. Yeah,
I saw it in an email
yeah.
to everyone.
Maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But if you haven't seen it, I can just go over it, and then you can vote on it next month if you need more time to look at it.
What does the board think on that? Would that give it time to look it over, ask questions?
Yeah, that's it.
So I'll just do a quick overview when we get to it.
Gotcha. Just do a quick overview and we'll put it on. Becky, make sure it gets added on to next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Give everybody an opportunity to look it over.
Becky, it'll just be discuss and vote on amendment to public conduct and decorum policy.
Anything else in reference to addition, deletion, substitutions to agenda? Or adoption to agenda besides that? Anything else, Mr. Thomas? Nothing? All right, we'll move forward for C, number 1. Can we get a approval for the board meeting minutes for November 16th, 2022, and also December 14th, 2022? I have a motion on the floor. Can we get a second?
Aye.
We have a second by Mr. Self. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries for the meeting minutes for November 16th and December 14th, 2022. Okay, at this time we'll do public comments. First we have Ms. Barbara Backhouse. If I pronounce your last name, forgive me. You have the floor.
Hi, I just wanted to find out update on the reservoir. I know last month you said that you were going to get in touch with the consultant and find out the progress on how that was coming along.
Okay.
And on changing the district from 298 to a city. I'd like to know more about the pros and cons about that. I don't think the people in the community really know anything at all about that. And I think we should hold off on a vote on it right now until we can find out more information.
Okay, in reference to, good question, both of them are good questions. In reference to the reservoir, the attorney will speak on that part when it's his turn. In reference to the 298, I'm not sure about the city part, that's the way the meeting minutes came up. But I believe what they're trying to do, and John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the thing is to get momentum to go in that direction, but at the same time have like a community workshop where the whole community comes out. Like for instance, we do a Saturday or whatever at the clubhouse and everybody come in and again talk about the pros and cons on both sides. Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be people for it and I'm pretty sure there's going to be people against it. So it's good to know the whole, because that is a big change or a big movement in that direction.
Yeah,
Good question.
it's a very big deal, very big decision, and yeah, I know it's been discussed 15, 20 times over the last couple of years at the board level. spend hours talking about the process and the pros and cons. Like any big decision, there are pros and there are cons. So,
I was just concerned more because it said you were going to be voting on it today. It said Walter was there.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I think the bigger thing is I think for most of us, we definitely want to move in a direction. I don't think most of us want it to become a city. I'm assuming, but I think we try to make it as less invasive as possible, but have more control of what we can do as far as this community. So like for instance, the 298 district, there's a lot of pros and cons. As we have grown in this community, there's a lot of things that our hands are tied. But if we were, what's another thing besides a city, John? If we were a township
yeah, some
or...
of you are probably familiar with Lehigh Acres. So Lehigh Acres had a water control district many decades ago, the East County Water Control District. And maybe 15 years ago, I don't know my age, but about 15 years ago, it became the Lehigh Acres Municipal Services District. And what it did is it changed, took a baby step, it changed from a drainage district, because that's what we are, is to deal with drainage, recreation, and roads, those three things. Lehigh Acres renamed themselves and they call it Municipal Services District. So now they deal with roadways, lighting, water, wastewater. So they went to the legislature. You don't wave a wand. They don't have the authority to change what we do. The legislature does. So in Lehigh Acres, they made the decision to become a municipal services district, which has many more responsibilities than a drainage district, but fewer responsibilities than a county or a city. If you live in that area, you know that that is their end goal. Whether they do it 5 years from now or 25 years from now is not clear. But that's one example of maybe not jumping to become a local government like a city. Maybe take some interim steps, taking on more responsibility. But as you said, ma'am, it's a very complicated question because in order to do that, the taxing structure of Central County would have to change. Because right now, we do not assess ad valorem taxes. Like Hendry County assesses an ad valorem tax. That ad valorem tax is based on the value of your property. The value of your property goes up, your ad valorem taxes go up. Here in Central County, they assess what's called maintenance. They call it a maintenance tax. It's really a fee. It's a flat fee. So whether you have a vacant lot with trees on it or $1 million home on that lot, you pay the same amount. This district could never take on new responsibilities unless and until it converted the way it generates income to an ad valorem system similar to Hendry County. So what the board has discussed several times is Ventura has grown. But as Ventura has grown and the needs of the people living here have grown, the funding has stayed the same. Because of what happened the last couple of years, real estate prices skyrocketed. Hendry County's income increased. So more people, more services, they had more funding.
They don't share.
That is the issue. We had a former board member we couldn't have, this board directed a study to look at how much ad valorem tax comes from the property owners in Ventura to Hendry County, and then how much of that money comes back to Ventura. And even that is a very complicated question. I can tell you I've been involved in conversations with the Hendry County Administrator, the Public Works Director. Commissioner Iglesias has been very helpful and with us in talking about this. That is the real driver that this board has discussed is what do we put in the pot and how much of that comes back to the people in Ventura.
And the other thing is, So for instance, if you read this, hey, tonight we're gonna take 298 City, it doesn't, it's,
Okay, that was
no,
the
it's
concern.
way more complicated than that. It's way more complicated than that.
Years, assuming they decided tonight, and they had all the money tonight, and we had a perfect plan, beautifully executed, it would take years.
It's not waving the hand.
John, I have a question. A lot of people ask, is there a way to get away from Hendry County taxes, or is that something that we're going to be tied into
So that is the way.
to get out of it?
The only way to not pay taxes to Hendry County is to create local government, the city. For example, Lewiston. If you own property in the city of Lewiston, you pay your ad valorem taxes to the city of Lewiston, not Hendry County. Now, the city may contract with Hendry County for certain services. It's very common, like fire and police. Yeah. And by the way, many cities do that. In Palm Beach County, there's a dozen cities that contract for police with the county.
Yeah, but I think what a lot of people in Montero would like to do is kind of keep it the way it is and not let so much of what's going on outside affect what's going on in here. We see that Montero is changing at a very fast rate. Some directions probably don't want it to go, and I think that's what most people would like to do, is kind of keep everything as rural as it can be and stay away from a lot of some of these ordinances that they're kind of very oppressive on the community too.
So thank you, Mark. Appreciate
Even I
it.
should say too, you all can look at Google it. Loxahatchee Groves is another good example. Loxahatchee Groves was a water control district, and I think in 2016, it became the village of Loxahatchee Groves. Now it's a village. Those are acre lots. It's a fairly rural area in northwest Palm Beach County, kind of like the acreage. So there's examples you can look and see, and that's again primarily dirt roads, very rural, a lot of horse people in that area.
Yeah, so don't let that trick you. We just can't say, hey, tomorrow we're gonna get city done. No more complicated.
Address something that he said is incorrect.
Yeah, hold on a second. If you want, Raymond, you can fill something out. Next one, we have Gladys Dominguez, if you would. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, neighbors. Good evening,
Good
everybody.
evening.
Good evening.
I have two questions. Basically, is there a way that we can see the details of the increase that we had on the property in the non-ad valorem tax and the taxes for the properties from the water district? I would like to see where that money is going and why am I being increased that amount of money, because for 3 consecutive years, the increase of my properties went up by $37. And last year, I had an increase of 93.75 in 3 of the properties, and I would like to see what that money is being spent on. If there's a way that I can see it online, it doesn't have to be given to me, or I don't know if somebody else has that. We have it should be known to everybody that we have social media communication in the neighbors, and we do have that concern. Most of the neighbors, we don't know why the price suddenly went up. Which brings me to my second question. I would like to know what does the office does for the neighbors, because sometimes when I personally call and ask, hey, why are the taxes going up? They kept telling me, oh, what we do for your house and what we do for the drainage system and what we do. But I don't know if you remember me calling a couple of times when my whole fields were swamped and with the rainy season.
It could be, we have a few different.
We had I came to the office 4 times because I live rather nearby.
Gotcha.
And my whole property was swamped because a neighbor down the road had closed the culvert and I had no drainage. You, as you did, went and talked to the neighbor. He opened a small line, and it took like 3 months for my land to clear out of water. And when I asked for help, they told me that it wasn't the responsibility of the office. And I understand that there are some responsibilities for this office, so I would like to know where does those responsibilities end and where do my responsibility for my land begins? Because I wanted to claim that, and actually now I stand on my culvert and I look everywhere, I look to the end, to the drainage, and it's like a serpent and it's high down, so it doesn't matter that my land is not the highest. I think that's not helping at all. The last one is a suggestion. I'm sorry that I'm giving you all, I don't want to hover the meeting. Most of us, we came running away from, I don't want to say civilization, but I came to the farms. I ran away from Miami, and I'm running my profession from my house in the tranquility of my farm. And some of my neighbors don't even know half of the things that are described on the agenda. They didn't understand. When I was concerned about the city changes and so on, nobody knew what the 298 or the city was, so everybody was kind of nervous about it.
Sure.
So if we can have a better flow of communication, especially with this type of documentation, I know that keeping it short is the key, but some of us don't work on law, some of us don't work on county-related matters, so when you mention the 298 city, we freak out. Because like the lawyer mentioned, it's a long process, but you know that, we don't.
Sure.
So we have to be either careful or create a better flow of information.
100%. Anybody want to speak on
Yes,
certain
I'll
things?
speak of the
Okay.
increase. I was elected in 2020. When I came on the board, I see that in neighboring areas from us, like LaBelle and Lewiston, they have a lot of assistance from the county as well as in their city that helps them do a lot of things there. Here in Central County, we don't have that luxury. We don't have a hotline where we can call the county and ask the county for assistance and money, because for years, Montour has been abandoned, Montour has been neglected. And that's still the continuation of what has happened here in Montour. So the board had to take dramatic measures into our hands to increase, our roads, to make sure our roads are better. We have contracted pavers to come out to do professional patches, because as many people said, the cold patches weren't working. So there was a lot of things that had to happen, and that was one of them. We needed more funding to help improve Montour as well as stabilizing it. For years, taxes wasn't increased, and as we know, everywhere you live, taxes will increase, by a couple dollars, a couple cents. But for 20 years here in Montour, that wasn't happening. And for us to function like a town or a community, we have to have consistent flow with the growth of our community. So that's why our portion, Central County's portion, has increased over the couple years, is to help improve the community, such as the roads, bringing more opportunity to the clubhouse, better job opportunities for people who live here in Montour to work here. And then for certain things like, water control and stuff like that, in which you spoke with the manager, that's something that we can look into in better detail to really understand what happened that day that they went out there to go look at the culvert. I don't know what exactly it
I can
was.
explain it real quick. The culvert right next to her house, it was clogged up. We went to see her house, and just to help her out to get the water flow, we unplugged that culvert. But again, it's not our responsibility to maintain the culvert, which is one of our main problems.
So
Even though that is not, I still went and unplugged the culvert so her water would.
right. So some of the things also, Gladys, and everybody in attendance. So most people that purchased property out here 4 years ago, you could buy property for $3,000 or $4,000 easily. So let's just say the millage rate is whatever it is, and 16.1 or 15, whatever. Let's say whatever the millage rate is, right? This is just language. That millage rate on that brings you a certain amount. Now, us, we're different. We, as the attorney said, we tax differently. It's a set number per acre, whether you have a mansion or an empty lot or whatever. So as of right now, our property values have decreased. So as we know, our property values are not $3,000 anymore, right? Whatever Henry County says, the property appraiser says that is, and whatever the millage rate is, that's where, taxes. And then we still have our part to apply to it. So as a couple of board members have stated is, we have not, as a board here, I think going back, at least Mr. Boyd was saying maybe 18, 20 years, nothing has increased in Central County as far as raising taxes. So we have approximately 65, 70,000 properties, they say here in Montour. Regardless if it's completely full or empty, that tax amount that comes to us to take care of roads, drainage, and recreation is the same amount. So now that we have more people here than ever before, the income that we have is not sufficient to keep up with all the complaints. My road's not being done. I mean, we have a lot of complaints. As you have seen, if you drive down Hunting Club, if you drive down Camino Real, we have patched big pieces of roads. That's really probably not the best thing to do. We've done it, right? But it's better than just letting it go to waste and get to the base. So in order for that to continue, we have to figure out ways to make that happen and survive. Nobody here is, not that I know of, is making, at least on the board, we're not making millions of dollars. It's barely anything. So that's where a lot of your funding is going. But if you can, I've got your name here and your address and your email. We can email you as much information as you would like. But the other good thing, as well as myself, when I ran a few years back, 4 or 5 years ago, is I got familiar with the 298. I got familiar with what's going on, where my taxes go, how to break down my tax bill to see those kind of things. And if you don't have the resources, I can point you in the right direction, who to talk to, so you definitely have the right information.
It would be great. We are not saying that the taxing is incorrect or being rerouted to wrong destiny.
Yes, ma'am.
We just want to know.
100%.
And when I take the liberty to say we, because I have spoken with some of my neighbors and we share the concern. And for example, many of the neighbors didn't know that the culvert was actually the responsibility of the property owner. I learned that when I came to talk to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Regardless, so I asked somebody, a law officer, if I could go and talk to the property owner so I could go through the land and open the culvert, and the person told me I better not because that could run into neighboring problems and what's going on because that's his property.
So, and that's a good thing that we have a responsibility as homeowners to know what's going on. So I live in Henry County. I have a due diligence to do as well. When I buy a property, I have to do due diligence as well. If I'm going to purchase something, like there's a lot of people buying stuff and they call us and say, hey, by the way, did you know this is protected land? You as a person that's purchasing something, you have to do your due diligence. But yes, as much information that we can transpire to you, we definitely will. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I want to ask something about like the ditch maintenance. Where are we at on ditch maintenance?
What you did. Mr. Richard?
Good evening, board, and Happy New Year, since I haven't seen most of you guys since last year.
Yes, sir.
Well, my question was obviously about the and that's been touched up, so I guess I'll just wait for whatever the updates are.
Do you want to speak on anything in particular before he gives his update when it's his turn? Is there anything
Well, no,
in particular?
I just want to bring up that, it's a big thing that a lot of the residents, ask about, and it's a big interest. Obviously, not everyone shows up, but, a lot of people are very interested in not only seeing what's going on, but finding out what they could do to help, get something done quicker.
And hopefully when Mr. Fermel gives his report, hopefully he'll touch on that and the importance of it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on anything? If not, we're going to the next part of the meeting.
I think, Commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Randy Gillespie, I'm sorry. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
I wanted to clarify something that Eric brought up. You mentioned that basically the line item for Hendry County would not collect a tax. That is not, you had said it would be taxed by Hendry County. That is not correct. And I say that because on the way here, I pulled up after I saw that on the agenda item. I'm gonna show you my taxes. I live behind Walmart, of course. I pay Hendry County $778.90 in my taxes. Understand that no parks within the city limits of Lewiston on the north side of town where I live.
Sure.
There's no county park. There are no roads in my whole area on the north side of town that are county roads. Sure. There are some on the south side. So I just wanted to clarify that to make sure that you might be under the impression that you would not pay a tax, but it would be in essence, if you become a city. Now the township, I'm not familiar with it, the municipal servicing district, whatever you call it. But if you become a city, you're just going to add, and John Boy, you might be able to add on that, you're just going to be adding another set of millage as the city of LaBelle and the city of Filter. So I pay the county, the hospital for it. And you set up well that whenever you look at your property tax bill, I think there's a misnomer that everyone says, oh my God, I pay Hendry County this. That is not the case. When you break it down line item by line item, you see what you pay the county, what you pay the city, what you pay the school board, what you pay the hospital. You know, I get it all the time about, I'm 75 years old. I don't have any kids in school. You're absolutely right. I'm a commissioner. I have my kids in private school. My wife was a teacher for 19 years until August, and I pay the school board. It's part of, I guess, the greater good, you would say. You know, so I just want to make sure if that's the way you were insinuating that they would not have a county tax, that was clarified at the moment since you were addressing. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Also, so everybody knows, Mr. Iglesias is one of our representatives for County Commissioner. He represents one part of Montura, and Mr. Carson Turner is another County Commissioner. He represents the other part. So you're always available to him. He does return emails, phone calls that I know of. He's pretty Johnny on the spot. So thank you for being in attendance.
Thank you. We spoke about the golf carts.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to?
I've got some updates. Yeah, I actually had a meeting today at 4:30 on that. So you guys brought up the issue of the 298 in the city, and I want y'all to understand that this board here, they work very hard at trying to make things better. People may not always agree, but in many cases their hands are tied. The 298 limits at the state level certain things they can do. Why it was created the way it was back when Montura was founded by the Pan American Group, it was basically a control issue. I mean, I don't know if you had to plat out 6,500 lots, you have to assume that at some point, you may not have 6,500 homes, but you're going to have at least 50%. Daniel said it well. In 20 years, they have not gone up on the assessment. And then they have to they literally ripped off the Band-Aid to go up on an assessment that you would agree that you probably could have doubled it and still not have enough money. But they do it in a manner that, well, we got to do it little by little. So, back to the golf cart. Hendry County has authorized the use of golf carts within different areas of the county. So I said, hey, I want it for Montura. Okay. The problem is, who owns the roads in Montura? The 298. We own Pinecone. Now, we have a partnership, right, 833. We have an interlocal agreement with Central County in order to provide law enforcement and they call it something else with traffic jurisdiction, okay? So our county attorney reached out to the state attorney, and because it's a water district, the issue is neither the district or the county can authorize the use of golf carts on roads. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because section 316.212 the Florida statute says the statute contains no provisions for water control districts to designate public roads or streets for use of property owners. So think about that. Just because the word water district is not included in the Florida statute, right? So I said, okay, let's just add those words. Well, then it creates another problem because South Florida Water Management is also a water district. So then when you say water district, now you're stating that they have mass acres, thousands of acres of land mass, and now you're opening the door to allow people to go on there with golf carts. And I said, forget that. What you need to understand is Montour is a rural community that operates under a 298. Don't represent it as a water district, represent it as a 298. So I reached out to our county lobbyists in order to try in Tallahassee to make things simple. And I can tell you, absolutely nothing in government, nothing in Tallahassee, nothing at the federal level is ever easy. But I'm literally asking the state legislature to say, just, so don't call it 298, don't call it South Florida Water Management, don't call it Water District, just say Central County Water Control District added to that Florida statute. So I actually had a meeting at 4:30 on a conference call with the lobbyists and a new attorney that came from the DEP with them. But listen, just something as simple as this letter from the Attorney General's office, State Attorney, was from February 16th of 2022. That's sad. But that's how Tallahassee operates. Just they're going to stretch it out. That's how the federal government does it. Anyway, I'm not going to say dollars, but anyway, still try.
Thank you.
Just so we're clear, that was actually a joint request. I was actually me who wrote that.
Right, so,
And they know we talked about it this year ago.
right, the county and Central County had, Mark Lab and Primera had to do all this, I mean, and they went back and forth. Well, who owns the roads? And listen, we're both in agreement. We wanted them. Why can't we have it? You know? Now, the ATVs, that's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
That's actually another law. That's a whole different ballgame. That's out of my purview. But this here is something that I'm well damn determined to win. Because it's just, I just think it should be simple, right? And since I've got the podium, can I say one more thing? Because I'm excited about it.
Jeez.
Are you guys familiar with the Glades Electric Connexon agreement to bring fiber internet so in September I had the opportunity, I've been working with Glades Electric for some time, I'm not working, I'm there to help them with anything they possibly need that I can help bring fiber to our area. So Glades Electric provides service to Highlands, Okeechobee, Hendry, and Glades County.
Yes, sir.
They have partnered with a company called Connexon who has had great success in working with co-ops just like Glades Electric to provide fiber internet. It doesn't get much better than fiber internet. 100 megabytes, and I'm not a computer geek, but 100 megabytes of service is $49.95. 1 gigabyte is $79.95. That right there itself is phenomenal. Everyone noticed, you guys always have issues with cell service, you always have issues with connectivity and internet, and when COVID hit, you really realized how much of a problem you had with internet.
Yes, sir.
So I asked Jennifer with Glades Electric for an update. I'm going to read to you because I like to read things quote unquote. And this is specifically for your area here in Montour. And this is as of January 18th. We are in the engineering phase now. Currently, we plan to begin the work in March that will allow fiber installation, make-ready construction, fiber construction is scheduled to begin in May. And testing is scheduled through August. Once those steps are completed, we will begin connecting members who sign up on this Connexon website. So I want you to understand that. Their anticipated date is to bring live service starting in August, and you'll have the ability to connect. You know what? Let's just say it's not this August. Let's say it's next August. The fact that you have the opportunity to get 1 gigabyte service out here in the boonies, okay, in this rural of an area is unheard of. The beauty is, in addition to that, is that Montura is at the top of the list at this time.
That I know.
And that is monumental. okay? Anyway, I'm excited about that. This, tomorrow morning I leave as part of a county commissioner. I sit on different boards. I was just appointed to the Access 67 board as a champion for broadband internet because through COVID, there's a lot of federal dollars out there to bring broadband internet throughout the country, not the state. There's going to be is that everyone's going to try to connect, and there's going to be a demand issue on supplies, right?
Sure.
But this is what I love about this project is government's involved, but it's not involved. When you have private partnerships, okay, that are doing this, Glades Electric has invested $50 million in this. My theory behind it is that once Connection starts running fiber on all their poles, what's the next thing that's going to happen? They're going to say, whoa, the poles are outdated. We need you to upgrade these poles too. So I think that's going to be another benefit that's going to come from it. So, anyway.
I just want to add a couple comments. That statement about Glade Electric or the connectivity for the internet, they've been sending out emails if you set out on their account.
Right.
So it's not new if you sign up with Glade Electric to get those news. So that came out last year.
Yeah, so September was whenever they did the partnership on the steps of
Correct.
Glades County Courthouse steps with Connection. That's when they formed the formal, signed the formal agreement that day in September.
But my message is for the community, if you sign up with Glade Electric, they've been on top of that, sent that emails or
Yeah.
communication for all the members of the Glade
Yeah,
Electric.
so
It's becoming a reality, really.
it's becoming a reality a lot quicker than I anticipated because I just thought it was going to be when the announcement was made. The intent was for them to start on it when they did, and then within 3 years, be finalized. I just assumed, right? Oh, Montura's going to be way down here, and they've actually got it up. So that's as long as that momentum stays, I'm like doing cartwheels. And if I'm doing cartwheels and I don't have to rely on the service out here,
Sure.
I know that you guys will be
100%.
in a lot better shape.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Iglesias, I want to say thank you to you on behalf of the residents of Monturo Rancho Estates for the good work that you have been doing for this community. I saw you with the Hurricane Liam.
Yeah.
That's what it is?
Ian, yeah.
Yeah, and you were here, maybe during the daytime, nighttime, midnight. And for me, you were almost, sometimes putting life at risk for caring for the residents here.
And I do care.
Of Monturo Rancho State. So I want to say thank you. I was supposed to give you an appreciation plaque today, but somehow Becky told me that the person that makes the plaque was sick and she wasn't able to do the plaque. I want to say I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
But I want to say thank you on behalf of the residents of Monturo Rancho because you have done a great job. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you'll be here. Mr. Minnie told me you were here. I hours of the midnight at 3 in the morning.
Twice at 4 a.m. Yes.
4 a.m. twice, with dangerous weather and all that. So I want to say, we really appreciate that. And, that you show that you really care for the residents of Monturo. Now I know why the residents of Henry County give you support and have voted for you the way they have.
Well, I appreciate that.
They have done. So thank you.
It means a lot to me, so I want you to understand.
I'm going to take you to the commission's chairman, and I will give it to you right now.
Not necessary, but I want you to understand, I'm a hands-on kind of person. I've heard the horror stories I had 4 commissioners reach out to me before I got elected, and they said, they basically, don't forget that area, okay? What you need to understand when people call me about issues, I'm a District 4 commissioner. That means I represent the north side of Cloiston. I represent a portion of Monturo now. I had like 95% there, but because of the census that's changed. 720 and portions of Port LaBelle. If anyone calls me about any portion of the county, I'm going to be involved because I represent the county. I don't look at the title as a district. No different than you guys. You guys have districts. I don't know how yours are set up. I know you have districts, all right?
No.
You don't? Okay.
My water control district.
But my point is, yeah. Don't say water control.
I hear you.
Call it something else. Don't call it a city, just call it something else. But anyway, I try to be hands-on.
Sure.
We wrote out, and I called you didn't call me. The fact that if any of you guys have been looking at your pump system, and that's something that's coming down the works, of outdated infrastructures, it's countywide, it's statewide, and you have to be hands-on. It's more than just going to a meeting, it's following up behind those meetings, it's having separate conversations after the fact and whatnot. Here, Glades Electric is going to provide internet for a great portion of our county, but tomorrow morning, I'm going, like I started telling you earlier, I'm on a committee for broadband, because I want us to figure out how to bring some of those federal dollars to the county to provide services anywhere else, but I can tell you, they're not gonna have fiber. What they'll get in other parts of the county will not be the level of internet service that you will get out here. But anyway, thank you so
Also,
much.
thank you, and you called me many times and tell me this and that. If you need anything out there, just let me know, so we, the county, we take care of the situation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Bender. All right, moving on, we're going to number 4, old business, new business. John, discuss and voting on the transition from 298 to what's on here, to a city. How do we want to address this? The first thing that we vote on.
So my recommendation is, as we discussed earlier, this is a complicated issue, frankly, an issue that I've not been involved in the past. To me, there's two things. Number one is a well-publicized public workshop, so we can get as much input as possible. Because it's important that we identify not just how, but, what are, when you have a solution, first, what's the problem that you want to solve? Then you develop a solution. So I think a public workshop would be a great idea. And if there is a consensus to pursue it, then we're going to need to bring in professionals to advise us on that process. For example, when I'm talking about it with the treasurer, you have to do a financial analysis. What is the tax base in Montour?
Sure.
What level of financial resources based on X millage would that tax base support? In other words, is there enough to make it work, make it make sense? So we need to bring in professionals to do that. But I think the initial issue is have at least one or more, a series of public workshops, maybe one on a weekend for those who work, to get as much input as possible. But then if that's the consensus of the community of the board, then bringing on the professionals that can help guide us through that process, which is a multi-year process, and it requires legislation. We would have to get legislation.
So I want to ask something.
Go ahead.
Does the board have the authority to initiate that, or is this something that's being initiated through the community through voting to a certain percentage?
Yeah.
So what role would Central County play? Are we just there for support to the community, or is this something Central County could actually get involved and change something?
Yeah, so what I will do, I wrote a 8-page memo on this about a year and a half ago. Some of you may, I will recirculate it. So the short answer to your question is yes. There are multiple ways. Typically, the community can form a record, and pursue it on their own. Central County does not need to be involved. Central County Water Control District can be a catalyst that ultimately it's really a community-driven process. And I will tomorrow recirculate that memo, which details the statute. The statute has a really detailed process for how to go about it. There's several ways. So I will circulate that.
Any question, beside that, any question from the board, or should we vote on possibly setting up workshops in the near future so we can get this ball rolling? Or what's the thought on the board?
I think we should set up workshops, get the community's feedback, see what they want, see what they say, give them the pros and cons, show them, you know, the blueprints for, you know, 5, 10 years down the road, to get there when, you know, the community's growing, and we have to move fast before the bus leaves us kind of understanding. And if, you know, majority of the community as well as the general population of Montour says, look, we've been pushed around for too long, what do we have to do to move forward? We spearheaded with them, but if the majority of them say, well, let's just stay what we're at, and if we want to pick it up in a couple more years, then we'll pick it up in a couple more years. But I think they should be told the pros and cons, and what, you know, financial status we're at, and what happens if we don't dramatically take action soon, what will it look like.
I guess we get some type of information first prior to setting meetings. Workshop.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think it would be because it would be the first thing I know expert in this.
No, of course.
But maybe I can reach out to the former League of Cities and might have some person that, and maybe send them down and we can hide them there via Zoom or something like that. That has a lot of that background, really help educate all of us what's involved. So I have that down on my to-do list as well, to see if we can find an informed expert in case.
You try to find a constitutionalist.
Something, yeah.
So let's put it this way, Mr. Moreno, do you want to maybe change it around? Maybe it's to say something like, maybe make a motion to proceed with, move forward and see.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would suggest to do a workshop now, involve the community and see how that turn out.
All right, so the motion would be to have workshops and also have the attorney look into the possibility of what it all entails to move and transition from a 298 to whatever we think as a community to move forward as the community continues to grow. Can we get a motion on the floor? We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Moreno. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All ayes. Thank you. Next thing on the board, next thing to be voted on is sponsoring a team for Montura. So I've reached out and there's a president for the baseball league, and they've already signed up, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe in times past, Montura did sponsor a baseball team. So as we continue to grow, I was thinking, would it be possible, or do we think it'd be wise for us to possibly sponsor a team that represents the people and the community of Montura? So the information, I think, is in your packet. If you have any questions, comments, concern, definitely open to that. To see what everybody's thinking, see if it's a good idea or something that may need to be tweaked or addressed.
I think it's a great idea. If we do sponsor a team, because with us approving a couple meetings back for our baseball field to come up to par for our community and our youth, I think it would be a great opportunity for us to partner with our neighboring city to partake in that. So in future time, when our baseball field is finished and it's ready to have games, we can invite them out to our field and do the same thing and say, hey, we have a field now. We'd like for you guys to partake in games at our field and just help bring a lot of more business and population to the community as well as the clubhouse for our youth. Parents, and a great day to come out. So I think that would be a great start in communication and relations with neighboring town and city. I think it's a great idea.
Any other questions, comments from any of the board members?
So as far as the baseball field, is it something gonna get relocated more towards where the OH used to be, or is it gonna remain the same spot?
You know, that one, I don't, I think.
Well, in the past, we went through a lot of different roads. Daniel found some sponsors through Nike, through some of the companies, and we went through it for a few months. And one of the main problems with the baseball field is I used to take care of the baseball field by hand. There was never good machines or anything like that. And the main problem with the baseball field is we will have to find a way to separate the baseball field from the soccer. Because baseball field and soccer doesn't go side by side. So we will have to, that will be the main problem. The baseball field is not a problem. I got a plan from Mr. Bennett. We can do it in-house. It's not a big deal. We will have to move the soccer players to another place or the baseball field to another place. Now, why I'm saying this is because the only lighting on that side of the clubhouse is basically at the baseball field. There's nothing else where 4H used to be or anything like that.
Where is the baseball field that's there now is actually
There is
it's not a, well, it used to be, it was not a baseball field, was it? Was it more almost like a T-ball?
It was
smaller.
No, not really. When I started working on the baseball field, I noticed that what they did was like a normal park. They have one field that you can convert the same field for 3 or 4 different ages.
Yeah, do T-ball and baseball.
Yeah, so you move the base back and back. So they have the bases just through the years without maintenance. They were all over. We can do the same thing. The only problem is we're not going to be able to go all the way to, I would say, 60. I'm being in baseball all my life. I've seen a 16-year-old hit a ball 410 feet. That's a clubhouse. So it's not going to be available for the biggest kids unless we spend the money and put a big fence just like you find the parks in the middle of the city with like 40 full high, fans and stuff.
But if the baseball field gets moved over back to that corner,
We have a light.
the main if they supply with the light.
I'm sorry?
If they supply it with the light.
Yeah, if we move the light, we can. There's actually a soccer field between 4H and the baseball field, but there's no light. I look for the black, where you put the flags. You got the 4 holes for it with the plastic base and everything. But the soccer guy was, they say flag is fine, but we got no lights.
Wait, can they play soccer one day and baseball the other day, so they switch?
No. You can either, okay, so the baseball field is designed,
Hold on one second, 'cause we're getting off subject. Can we, because you can go into that here in a minute. Do we have any questions in reference to this? Because we definitely have to split it out and make it like a some type of sports complex where they play soccer and stuff like that. Or a multi-use thing. Is there any other questions from the board in reference to this? Because I don't, for the sake of time, I definitely don't.
well, actually, the question will be for Chris. I was just answering.
Yes, sir, correct. I know, but it's going from another one into another one.
Oh, okay.
Any other question from the board in reference
In reference to what?
to this?
Baseball team?
Yes, sir.
I think it's a good idea.
That's a good.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
No.
All right, with that being said, can we get a motion on the floor to sponsor a baseball team for Montura?
Motion.
We have a motion.
Can you guys decide also which sponsor? There's 4 different.
Yes, sir.
Grand Slam, home run, triple. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Yeah, there's 4 different, amount.
what does each one bring? Is it all the same as just what you decided to contribute?
Yeah.
No, if you read this over here, you know, the 750 will give you a package with,
We should get the, 1,000. 1,000.
Where do you see? There's only 750.
750. We should get 750. I will give you 1,000 for kids.
I would say whichever one it
750 is
is,
good.
if the office, again, this is just me thinking, if the office can get in contact with the official, I have her contact information, see which one it is that we would need. I guess it would be no more than 750 or, that I see here, that would be able to sponsor a team for us and a team.
750 will be, you know, good, because you get a placard, you get a picture, you get a big barn, a big banner by the fence, you know, it will be.
I think the most important thing, could be wrong, but I think the most important thing is we actually have a team of individuals,
Yeah.
kids from our area representing our area. I think that's the thing that we're trying to do, is bring the
Yeah.
community together and show that we represent.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said,
Yes, sir.
I just want to get things clear.
Go right ahead.
So the sponsor of the team for the Cleoston League, what they do is they get a team from the league and they put Central County Water Control, or CCWCD,
Sure.
under a uniform.
Okay.
So are we doing that, or are we trying to put a team together?
Actually, when
That's all I need to know.
Actually, when I spoke to her if it's possible that we, because of, I think Daniel was spoken as well as Mr. Santana, all the kids that we have just in our area that go to school, that we probably have more than enough kids.
Trust me, I know, I was
Right.
doing a lot of baseball in
Right.
Montura at one point.
What I had suggested to the new president is for us to sponsor a team from our area, a local group from local kids from our area to play in that league. That was the intended goal.
Okay, so with that being said, then the vote for that will be, which I don't think you guys have, you can still vote, that's a great thing. We may have time to put together a team, depending on which age, but the vote should be to put the team in the league, which is gonna be a lot more than $750.
Okay.
That's, so you guys vote for the whole team instead of sponsor a team for the league. That's the difference. Because if you want to put the team over there, you gotta pay whatever the registration is per kid.
Yes, sir. I think it's about,
It's $100
I
per
think
kid.
it's about $100 per kid.
Right, so you have
So
about
it's-
$1,400.
I think that's like what, Mr. Santana.
That's what I say, 1,000.
Like about 1,000.
I knew.
Yeah. But I think the most important thing for the approval is if we can get sponsor a team, but it'd be our local kids from our
Right,
community
yes.
representing.
That would be great,
Central
yes.
County or Montero.
Yeah, that would be great.
Is there, anybody have any opposition, something like that? And if it doesn't fall through, well then, we'll think of
For the
something
next
else.
season.
So can we get a motion on the floor for that?
Motion.
So we have a motion on the floor, Mr. Santana, we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? It all passed.
Have you thought of the name?
Montura Baseball Team.
Artura Mad Dogs.
Water Control District, right?
I have seen so many hot dog things.
Montura Water Baseball.
All right, next on the agenda, I think we've spoken on this in times past, but resurfacing the basketball court and resealing. Is this you or me?
That, I'm still working on that, let's just pass on that.
Okay, all right. So we'll pass on that one. Next one,
Just so you guys have an idea, we're trying to find the best price to resurfacing both of the basketball courts, because they're kind of a really bad condition right now. It has a lot of tiny potholes and stuff like that, so we're trying to get that fixed.
Have you ever priced out a roof for that section for both field?
We did, actually, Ms. Emara on the very beginning, we talk about it, we look for prices. I don't remember exactly how we ended up with that, but we did at one point, I think it was like 100 grand or something like that. If I don't mistake, I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly.
one is red iron and the other one is like the pole barn that they're using.
Right.
But I think with the pole barn that a lot of people have now is, like say for instance, if you throw a ball from one end to the other, you're probably gonna hit one of the trusses. Red iron would be better like what we have out here. That would be better because, you know, the trusses are a lot higher, but it's pretty good, it's pretty good kind of money. But we can also, Mr. Bennett or whatever can probably give us a price, have a rough idea what it is and figure out a way to, you know,
Can we get grants for stuff like that?
I'm pretty sure you get grants for almost anything.
Or we can ask the county if they wanna do something for our recreational, but they said it's not a county park, so they don't.
We can ask the LaBelle White House to go ahead and sponsor that one.
Hey, I brought a sponsor, but we took too long, we took too long.
Thank you. So we'll pass on that one, Emilio?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's, next up, vote and speaking on, breast cancer walk. Mr. Santana, Vice Chair, you have the floor?
Yes,
Something?
LaBelle does every year, they do the Relay for Life around
Okay.
February for, all different type of cancers. And then Clewiston does one, in October for their breast cancer walk. Us being in proximity bigger than them and after speaking with a lot of residents, it hits home, especially for me, it hits home for a lot of my residents. There's nothing for us as a cancer walk, cancer awareness. The past couple years, we did make the clubhouse pink, and a lot of them took it to light to that. They said, you know, that's the step. So I think the next step that we should do is putting on a breast cancer walk, calling all of our neighboring entities, you know, asking the fire department if they can come out, you know, because what they do in LaBelle, the fire department goes out there, you know, with the sheriff's office, and they have them walk around Barron Park. In Clewiston, the police department, the fire department, everybody goes out there and everybody walks. I think it's something that Montour should do moving forward, you know, to show awareness to it. You know, decorate the clubhouse pink, you know, give out food, hot dogs like we do for the basketball tournaments, soccer tournaments. But I think we should just do a walk around either the track, like 4 laps, or around the whole complete clubhouse. It's just something that I think Central County can take the initiative on, to show that we stand with our community, like a lot of the other neighboring towns and places do. And just do something for the people that, you know, suffered with cancer, those that we lost and those that are survivors within our community. We just have a dedicated event that we do every year that we add to our event schedule, because in our event schedule it's not in there. So this is something that I want to be put in there, to be, you know, that we vote on. It's permanently in there for every year. We have to plan for it to put on. So that's what I wanted to bring on that.
All right. Any questions or comments before we vote on it on the board?
I think it's a good idea.
Let's do it. Let me ask you something, is there a certain date that you're looking at? Is there a certain date?
No, just as long, you know, because I know a lot of them do it in October.
September?
No, it's October. Relay for Life does it in February because they stand for all different types of cancers. But we can do October because October's for breast cancer. And you know, it's
Should that be the
paid,
goal?
yeah,
Should that be the goal? Okay.
yeah.
Do we have to, just ask, do we have to partner up with anybody or?
No, we can do it ourselves. You know, we can do it ourselves. We can do a charitable thing. We can invite one of the big breast cancer organizations out, and you know, whatever anyone wants to donate, they can donate.
The only thing we gotta do with that is if we're gonna do it in the clubhouse, that would be awesome. We don't wanna get in the road because then we have to ask permission.
Sure. Okay. All right, so can we get a motion on, any other questions on this?
What's the distance you're trying to do? What the most that you want to do?
I just said to start now, do 4 laps around the loop, which is basically a mile. Because to start it off, I don't want to do nothing too big that we'll have to have the sheriff's office or any other personnel, because it's already hard enough to get them out here. So.
Yeah. At some point in the future, if stuff like that comes up, it's a little bit longer distance, and we could utilize the reservoir levee. Really nice up there, and if somebody wants to go a little bit further, they can start off here, and they'll take you all the way back around through sports club, and then they could end here. And later in the future, if you decide to do something else, and you have more room, more parking space, it's a nicer, very nice view.
That would be awesome. That would be a 7K.
Yeah, that'd be really nice.
Around the lake. 7K,
How
5K.
long, or how many miles is that?
It's 10 miles, right?
Around the levy?
No, 8 miles. Yeah, 8 miles.
It's a good distance.
8 miles.
I don't think I'm gonna make it. You're old. I somehow.
You'll be in your volunteer
Well, I can tell you something about that. My kids, they've been doing track and field, baseball. They've been all over doing 5K, 7K, 10Ks, and you'll be impressed. How many people? My son just did a 10K on LSU, and there was 6,000 people
How old are you, son?
on a 10K.
How old is your son?
18 years
When I
old.
was 18, I did 10 kids.
Well,
I'm 64. I'm only 65. When you sound me 65, let me see how many
well,
kids.
the funny part is that between everybody, between all those people, there was more than 2,000 people. There was over 70 years old.
Really?
Yes, even people on wheelchairs.
I'm not a change.
So with that being said, can we get a motion on the floor for this cancer walk, and let's say October 2023, that gives us enough time to come up with a lot of things.
Motion,
We
motion.
have a motion on the floor by Board Member Santana, we have a second? We have 2 seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
October 23rd, right?
We're trying to do October.
Number 30.
2023, whatever day in October.
You have a festival that day?
We have, don't forget, we have our annual meeting on the 20th, and we have our golf tournament on the,
Yeah.
they're there, so just be aware, because we also do the Halloween dance on that last Saturday.
I love it.
So it would have to be at the beginning of the month. So, just, I want you guys to be aware that there's a lot of going on at that, in October.
Yeah, October is our favorite.
I'm gonna find myself a nice
We have
wife.
October, do it during the cool months.
Basketball tournament.
Yes, also.
28th is a Halloween dance.
Yes.
Right, well, the golf tournament is
First
not
week.
really,
It's not on.
yeah,
Yeah, no.
that's a monthly thing. The golf tournament is once a year.
Okay, moving on, so we have next Christmas festival to go on, discuss, go on Christmas festival, Vice Chair Chantel, we got the floor on that one.
Okay, last year I brought it up for us to rent and to have our own fair in our property. We could have a fair bigger than Clewiston does, and all of the money that was raised from it would have been brought to us. The only downside was we had to rent the equipment, and each ride roughs from $5,000 to $10,000. And then the concession stand. So that was something totally different. We didn't want to jump into that, especially with the direction our budget was going into. So with all of that time, I contacted numerous amount of corporation CEOs, and I got one to say that they'll sponsor the event under a couple conditions. They want to know if they can sell alcohol at the event. They are a big alcohol distributor, and that we signed a contract with them that we will have this festival for 10 years, the same day, all the time, to continue. And any money that we raise at the entrance of the event, we get to keep, and any money that we raise from the rides that we select, we get to keep. But they want to know if that would be something we'll be interested in, because I have to go back and let them know our decision, because they have to pull permits with the county, and they also have to pull permits with the sheriff's office, because they said that they're going to need a lot of personnel, so they're going to have to bring security and stuff like that. So they want to know if we allow it. And I told them the years that they want it, I don't know about that, but I think it would be something good, because this is an event that we can probably raise, a couple $1 million, and that all goes back to our community, because the sponsor doesn't want any of that. They're going to be raising their money off of other things. So that was one of the things. So that's just one of the things I just wanted to bring to the table, if it's a yes or no. But we can think about it, sit on it, and come back to it. But the sponsor's really eager to do it because the fair industry, they have fairs all year round, but the 1 month that there's no festivals in the whole state of Florida is in December. So the big company that's also going to be partnering with them to do the fair rides said that we'll be the only winter festival in the whole state of Florida. So it'll help us bring in a lot of revenue, to our local businesses here because people are going to need gas to get here and to go home. And then all of the vendors that are going to be coming in as well. So that's something that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention.
I don't like the idea of
How many days? Any questions?
I like the event, but the contract, I don't like it. Thank you. When we start,
How many days will be that, weekend or a week? Or?
They want to do it as long as Clewiston does it. They want to do it for a week.
A week long event? Any other questions?
So if you do the 10 years and then Central County decides to back out of it, what's the repercussions for it?
The repercussions for that, from what we discussed, was that any of the donation money for the year that we say that we don't want to do it anymore, we have to give to them. So if we basically tell them, hey, we don't want to have the event after this year, whatever's raised that year goes to them because, like the representative said, all of that would be going to pay for all of the rides and all of that other stuff. So they said that they're not losing anything. They just said that they want a 10-year hardcore contract because it's something that they can grow on. Because events like this, they advertise for the whole beginning of the year. So let's say that so they start promoting it a couple months before. So everybody's gonna say, oh, what's this? It's a new thing that they're coming. They're bringing all these rides. It's this whole big festival. So when they start bringing all of these vendors, she also said that they're not just going to bring in vendors, they're going to be putting on live shows. So they invite all of these people, and if a famous person picks up on it, they have to pay that person. So they said they'll be the ones losing if we say, hey, we don't want to do it. But they said the 10 years, they'll get all of their money back. And after the first 2 years of it being established and being a repeated event, their sponsorship will already be known. Everybody's going to say, oh, that event always happens that whole week. Sure. It's always going to be there. I'm going to go. So they don't have to worry about pushing so much into marketing. So it's really their marketing and then the rides is what we get. If we cancel the contract, we have to pay that back.
Yeah, we gotta make sure that the board decides to go that direction. It's like most of them companies, they'll start off good and they'll bring nice rides, and then your second year in, they bring a bunch of junk and then nobody likes it, and then we're still tied in another 9 years. We don't want that either.
that's why I don't want the 10 years contract.
John, is there anything that we can ask in advance to look at, like a sample of a contract? Of course,
Oh, yeah, I
a
mean,
contract,
it's
sure.
hard to read, this is a very conceptual proposal.
Sure.
Like that old saying, the devil's in the details.
Details.
Like Chris said, maybe one day we get, one year it's a Cadillac, the next year it's a Chevy. But all that can be addressed in a contract, but if they could put even a conceptual proposal in writing,
That's good.
like how does Central County make money in this event?
We get to keep all of the entry fee, so we charge people the entry fee and the tickets. So whatever that, because originally how fairs work is you rent the rides, and when you rent the rides, you make whatever the ride sells, they sell tickets, so you get off of that. So you get paid for whatever you buy for the tickets. If you invite the vendors, you charge your vendors a vendor rate, so you get that money daily, as well as if you charge them a weekly rate. So all of that we get to keep, because what they're getting out of it is the alcohol. We don't get nothing from the alcohol sales. We don't get all the marketing that they do. It's simply going to be them saying that it's at our location. So their biggest thing is to sell the alcohol. It's going to be primarily on that. And yeah, they said once you start selling one drink, how they said was once you sell one drink, everybody's going to want more. So that's their biggest thing.
So maybe can we adjust this to say something like, can we get a conceptual contract so the attorney can look at to see what's all in there before we're held liable for anything. I think it's a great idea, but like I say, you can always negotiate contracts. Always, you can always negotiate a contract. Are you cool with something like that?
Oh yeah, I'll get with her. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
That's a good step to be a city.
Right. I'm gonna do a workshop.
We're up on the map somewhere.
All right. So can we
Would
get
this be held at the clubhouse
At
or
the clubhouse.
just on the road like Henry County?
At the clubhouse,
on the
there's,
clubhouse?
yeah, she said after doing aerial looks on, her
It's
Google
enough.
map, she said it's a lot of space for a lot of money. Those were her exact words. She said that, we can get a lot of money from just having the event here. And she says after our first couple years, she said you'll raise enough money with the event, and especially them being the sponsor, that people are just gonna come to buy. Because I guess she was going into detail, they give alcohol passes, and they also invite a lot of big famous singers to come out. So once they do that, every year they said it'll grow. So that's what she expressed.
All right. So with that being said, can we get a motion on the floor to look into this and make sure we get the right contract and negotiate the right things before we fully approve of, before we fully commit to, until we get all the details? Can we get a motion on the floor to get this started to see if we can get the contract, conceptual contract, and hash out the things we need to do before we make the final decision? Is that okay, John?
Yes, sir.
All right, motion on the floor.
Aye.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Moreno. We have a second. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. All against?
Me.
All right, so motion carries 4-1. Moving on, District Manager, you got the floor.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, the next.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's
got
a
the
new-
F.
It's a new 4F, which is, you can all just take a look at this document. So there's two parts. There's a resolution adopting, and the most important part is what's attached to the resolution.
Yeah, but I believe in reference to this, we're gonna look it over.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go over it
Okay,
very quick,
gotcha.
so that you understand. So
Understood.
this arose from a request from Board Member Self regarding, there was a question about what policy is there for taking action against someone, trespass, someone who's unruly. So we already have a policy on public decorum and conduct. So I thought the best way to do that would be to instead of creating a whole new policy, just amend the existing policy. And if you go to number 8 and 10, go to this page here.
Becky, can I have that paper, please?
Everything's in yellow.
I got it, thank you.
Yeah, she didn't make color copies, so it's with shading. See the shading?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's really in number 10, which basically says, I'll just read it real quickly so everybody in the audience can hear it. So this is how and when do you eject someone from a meeting. And so it says the board reserves the right to identify and expel from a board meeting or any district event any person who has been advised to exhibit decorum and who continues to be disruptive in any fashion at a district event or board meeting. So for example, if you're having your Christmas festival and someone was disruptive, this would also apply to that. And so if a person's been advised and continues to be disruptive or violates our policy, our meeting, public conduct, decorum procedure policy, said person can be removed from the board meeting. If a person refuses to leave a board meeting, any individual board member who feels at risk may request that the sheriff remove the individual from the premises. If an individual has been removed from the premises in the past continues to be disruptive, so this is someone who's been asked to stop, they don't stop, they continue. They're removed from the property, they don't stop, they continue a third time. The board reserves the right to itself to seek a trespass action against such person to be enforced by Hendry County Sheriff or other court of competent jurisdiction. So what it basically says, because what I heard, what I try to do is I hear you all talk and I try to find some middle ground. So what I heard Mr. Self say is, hey, no one person should be able to say, declare a trespass against someone. But I also heard board members say, you know, we've all been here where people have been not just disruptive, but physically threatening. And I know some board members, like they went after particular board members. So the way this is written, if any one of you feel at risk, that person can be removed. That means out, off the premises. But if you want a formal legal action of trespass, to go to the sheriff's office or court and seek a trespass, that would be a vote of the board. So I tried to find a little bit of balance between what I heard, the two different interests here. So that's what's reflected in what you have before you. You know, please read it, and we can vote on it next month. So just, you know, in a nutshell, any board member can ask the sheriff to expel someone. Because, you know, again, sometimes it's directed at one person, so, but the ultimate decision, if you want to go to, take it to the next level, that's a board decision.
We saw it here, we saw it happen here.
Yes, we
We
did.
saw it happen here, we have the experience.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you, the same thing applies in Hialeah, Miami, Miami-Dade County, Henry County, so that's everything. That's more, that's universal. Policies, no, it's a policy that we have created. It's a policy that exists there in the state of Florida, and I believe in all 50 states, because we are a law and order state, or law and order nation. We cannot be, everybody is going to meetings, I'm threatening, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to break your head, I'm going to break your leg, I'm going to wait for you outside, I'm going to kill you, because then we don't want to be law and order. Because founding father created a constitution which is
I do have a question about that. That resolution only is based on the meeting time. Right?
No, I made it for any event.
You're asking if you have an issue.
If I have an issue in the office, I can't wait 30 days.
Oh, I see
for
what you're saying.
Oh,
So I can add district manager. That's okay with the board.
yeah, but the question is this. Hopefully it never happens, but if it happens tomorrow, I legally can put a trespass.
Any citizen, so this is a good discussion, so anytime, anybody is threatened or feels physically threatened, or there's a chance of bodily harm, you need to pick up the phone and call the sheriff's
Right,
office.
yes,
Period.
right,
And there's no policy procedure that prevents that.
right.
This was really, so if you have somebody in the office who's disruptive, who's physically threatening you or the staff, you call the sheriff's office, that's done, that person's gone.
And I got the right to put a trespass.
You have the right, we don't need a policy for that.
Right, right, that's all my question.
The issue was, as Mr. Self raised, is that next level. We're
Right.
saying, I want to have this person be precluded from coming on Central County Washington District property in the future. I want for a year or for whatever period of time, they're not allowed here. That's a board decision. That's, so when it gets to that level, it's a board decision. So for example, if you have somebody, they do that, they get expelled and they come back, that's where you come here and say, so-and-so continues to come to our office, continues to be disruptive, and so that's where they will take appropriate action in concert with the sheriff's office to have them.
My question is, isn't that what the chair's responsibility is to do, is to conduct and hold the responsibility of the meeting as the representative of the board?
So the chair is the keeper of the meeting, the quorum. So the chair is the one that calls speakers, he's the one that limits the time of speakers, and he or she is the one, if someone is out of line, they say, you're out of line, stop, sit down, they keep on, you're out of here. The policy here was, and again, this is a draft, it's really for you to tell me what you want. I'll put it here, whatever you want, you the board. The issue was, I think, Chris, you can explain it better, Chris, but it was like he wanted it to be more of a board decision to go to the level of
Right.
legal action, trespass.
Yeah, because the thing is.
Expelling somebody, that's the chair.
Yeah, because the thing is, like I said, if the chairman makes that decision, and let's say that we all feel that maybe the person wasn't that lucky, sometimes people say stuff that they don't agree with, and then they might seek that opportunity, and that's what the chairman that we have here would do, but if it does, to where, you know, it's gonna be a little bit more fair, that if something does happen, if the board believes that maybe what the person was saying was not out of line, we protect them people's rights too. It is just to be on an even playing field with everything, because if that person doesn't get kicked out and then something happens, then is the board or the chairman gonna take full responsibility if something, there's an outcome from it? Because if we did not vote for anything, we're all gonna have to suffer any repercussions that come with that.
I agree with the way that if any one of us is threatened, physical or whatever, we have the right.
And I put that in, for example, someone says, you know, Santiago, you're out there, never does says, well, I'm not threatened. Well, he is.
Exactly.
Right.
So he can say, you're out of here. But again, 3 levels, you know, level 1, stop talking, you've already spoken, sit down. Level 2, they keep on, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Level 3, we call the sheriff, and we seek a trespass on district property.
Yeah, because anybody's acting out of line that truly is, I mean, there's no need for that here. You know, that's a no-brainer, we don't need that. But it's just to make sure that if somebody might get a little maybe emotional, a little bit loud or something, that the board doesn't take it as something bad. It's, you don't want to leave it that broad either. It's just to be a little bit more defining what we're gonna do.
So, can I ask another question? Just so we don't get in trouble in the future with the board voting, which I think is a good deal, that all of you decide. So, again, hopefully never happen. What happens if somebody goes into the office and threatens anybody? Me or Becky or Rosa, we are the victim, not the board. We are.
Call the sheriff.
Exactly. So I put a trespass on that person, me.
The restraining order, whatever you want.
Right. So on the next month, I come over here and say, hey, this person has a trespassing because this and this. I'm the victim.
Yep.
So how the board can vote at that moment, if that person can come back or not, the trespassing is already there.
No, you already give that person a trespass. That's it. That person have a trespass.
No.
This is
Wrong
what
from the
he's-
police,
what
wrong
he's
from the-
saying is, this is good, so, what he's
I
saying.
just don't want us to get in trouble in the future with something that is not
Yeah.
kind of
So,
clear.
what Amino, I think, is saying is that, well, what if someone is not showing up at board meetings, but he's showing up at the office? At what point can he, as the manager, seek a trespass against that person and keep them from coming on to district property? Can he have that authority, or does he have to bring it? That's the
Or to
question.
say, this is where the gray area comes. Or to say, well, he didn't threaten Robert, he didn't threaten Santana, he didn't threaten myself, he didn't threaten Santiago, he didn't threaten himself. We have no issue. What if we vote against him?
Right. I mean, this is an unusual policy. It's hard to
So
write
there's
this.
so many, that's what I'm saying, there's so many ways that you can go it. But if you feel threatened, you know, you're a civilian at the same time. You have every right to call the sheriff.
Well, the only reason why I'm asking is because if I'm putting a trespassing on somebody, that will go to the court.
I think
That will be a court order that you guys are not gonna be able to turn around. Or both.
Come to the meeting. You have
That's
done,
the only issue I have.
come to the meeting, you have done that already.
I'm sorry?
You have done that already.
No, not a trespass.
Nobody have come there to the office and called the police
No.
because they were disorderly.
Yes,
This is
yes,
different. This
but
is different. We're saying There's no question. Somebody's disruptive in the office, he can kick them out. Period. Right.
You wanna do a
This is
workshop?
different. He's saying that next, can he also seek a trespass? Or, you know, frankly, if he's directing his anger at you, threatening you or your family, and restraining order against him, that's for you. Correct. Not the district. That's taking him away from your house.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I know that, but I'm talking about on the war
Yeah, but
place.
yeah, so that's a good, that's up to you to think about. You want to give that authority.
Before this was drafted, what was our system before? What would
The law.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you? You want me to tell you?
So, well, probably this will arise once every 20 years. We didn't have a policy because it's, I'd like to think it's something that's rare.
This is, we go back to the same point, there's a difference between a policy and a law.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's not really the law, it's what our policies are, and then depending on what happens, then the
So
law.
please, in reality, we are no law.
Yeah.
We are no laws. We are supervisors
I know,
of the board of Central
I
County.
know we have
So I
policies.
mean, we don't
The
have,
whole point of my question is if I trespass somebody because I'm working and I've been threatened, you guys will not have the right to vote for that guy to come to the meeting. It's a law. That's my point. I mean, you can vote
Yeah,
and that person will be arrested.
yeah.
Hopefully it never happens. But even if you vote, that person will be arrested because there's no trespassing.
Right.
We let the attorney figure out all the things.
Well, no, this is really, it's not me.
it's no enforcement.
You need to tell me.
We can't go
I
against
can
it,
invent any policy you want. You just have to tell me what you want.
but you can't go against that, John. That's just, we can't say, hey, you know, he just called sheriff office on a, let's just say, for instance, an employee got assaulted or whatever, right? And he calls the sheriff department, and the sheriff department arrests that person. And he puts a restraining order or whatever. We can't come back at the point and say, hey, by the way, in your county,
You're wrong.
sheriff
You're
office.
wrong.
No, that's a restraining order. But this is a.
Whatever,
This is keeping him from walking onto district property. The clubhouse, an event here. It's a little different than a restraining order.
I understand, but I'm just using that as an example. But let's just say, for instance, Mr. Herminio says, okay, I filed a,
Well, it's not only me, it could be any employee.
Whoever.
I mean,
Right.
you know.
Could be whoever, could be at the clubhouse,
Right, yes.
could be at the clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, you can be at Walmart and do it. It doesn't matter where you are.
No, but I know that, but
If
the
you're-
problem is on Central County.
Right, but if you're at Walmart and that person, you can get a restraining order, the police can move them out, but you can't prevent them from coming to Walmart.
Right.
That's what we're talking about here,
Right.
is preventing them from coming back onto district property ever.
So I behoove all the supervisors to look at
Yeah,
this
take a look.
resolution really
If
good.
you have questions, you don't know how to read, you can call me.
And if there's any additions, deletions, or substitutions, John, make sure you email us all separately
Yeah,
and figure
please.
it out. All right, Herminio, good conversation. Manager's report?
Yes, sir. We continue doing as many draws as we can with the milling. We also, we've been doing some fixing on a perimeter with the line rock. We start the project on changing the main covers under Dado and Palm especially. There are collapse or about to collapse or really rotted and really bad condition. We started that process already. We are on hunting club cleaning ditches and end of the ditches and canals especially. So just to put an example, we were on hunting club today and we found 15 pine trees dumped on the slope of the canal, inside the canal. 15 pine trees. I'm not talking about a little grass or no, pine trees. They were cut off and thrown in the canal. And we had to collect them all the way from Berta to the end over here on the main canal to 1 and 2. And then you can name it, tires, whatever. We're taking a lot of stuff out from the canals. And just so you guys know, we cleaned that canal about a year ago. And it's, again, tires and sofas and chairs, and you can name it. We sold 27 permits, 20 of them are new. We still mowing through Montura. The boom over is done on Camino Rio, Avenida del Centro, and Avenida del Club. We are on Post Club right now. We're picking up a lot of trash still. The pool is gonna be right now halfway for big maintenance on the walls and on the jets. We already passed the permit for the monuments that we're doing at the clubhouse and the fixing on the 833. So they're gonna start the process of painting, electricity. We already ordered the signs and all that stuff. The Christmas event was really good. A lot of kids came out. If I don't mistake, the number was 450 something kids. The patchwork on the roads, as much as we can do this year, is already finished. The deep patches all the way from Abarusa to Camino Rio. I forgot what was the total square feet, but we're talking about like almost 60,000 square feet between all the roads. Like Mara was saying, it might be not the best thing to do. I know the best thing is to reserve a mile or two, but we've been trying to do that for the last 3 years and it's not coming around. So like Mara says, it's better to do something before we lose the base of the roads. Bennett and me went to the pit behind home number 5 to check on the ways that we're gonna break through for the drilling company to make their way all the way to the pinpoints that we have on the map. That will start on Monday, and the drilling company would be ready to go in the pit around 2 weeks from now. We have to change one pin that is right next to pump number 5. That will be wetland. We don't want to deal with wetland. So that drill is not going to be done. We're going to change it, right, Mr. Bennett?
Yeah.
To another place, upland. And hopefully we get some good material out of it that we can use for the roads. In case we don't get access to any more meetings or something like that. And either way, we're gonna need that for perimeter, especially. If we can find, good road and good line road and good amount. Because we will have to spend some money to use all that line road. So hopefully all that is good, and we're gonna have to go back and decide into old front loader, stuff like that.
You know how far down they're gonna core drill?
They're gonna do 25 feet
25.
for now. And based on the samples, they will go deeper or they will stop. Yeah. That's about it. If anybody has any questions.
My first question is the illegal dumping. Are we reporting that to the sheriff's office?
We have plenty times, and especially with power cars, and even those that they have big numbers, if they're not stolen, the answer is real quick. You guys just have to pick it up because it's on the right of way. That's it.
Okay. And then my other follow-up question is, the pool maintenance has nothing to do with us redoing the pool, correct?
No. When I say pool maintenance is, every year I take the water level down to repair the jets. The jets break in half and stuff like that, and it's hard with water to put it back in there. And just regular maintenance, nothing about repairs or anything like that. But now that you mention, Mr. Bennett and me worked before on that, and the board knows about this, the pool room. We just, I asked Mr. Bennett today to bring me the plan for that, because I want to start getting people to bid on it, or to tell me the price, if we find a good price. Because we've been talking about it for the last 4 years.
Can it be handled in-house or no?
Nah. No, that you gotta pull permits, gotta be a contractor, it's a whole different, the whole thing with the pool room is, it was done, for example, with no columns on it. So the structure is cracked in half, all around, on different places. And I'm talking about cracks, it's not like a little tiny crack no, it's cracks. And then if you go inside the actual pool room where the chemicals are, the corrosive for the chemicals has eat up on the bricks, and it's bad. We've been,
It's past the show.
yeah, we've been doing repairs, we've been putting stucco on it, it's not really holding anymore, it's so deteriorated.
It's did its job.
Yeah.
It's way past its edge.
Yeah.
It's
The
showing.
biggest thing is, when it was built, they didn't put any reinforcement steel in it.
Down.
And then the other thing is, the trucks are scrap.
It don't meet the cost.
Yeah, they
You can see when it's a hurricane, things will shift. Just as you put it over there.
It's a big safety issue right now for employees.
yes, it is.
Pretty bad.
No, it's not anything falling down.
Yeah, I get it.
But it's not getting any better.
Maybe better if we do something about it now before something does happen. I wish we
Well,
took action.
just so you have an idea about what Ben is saying about shifting, after the last hurricane, we literally have to go there with the excavator. We move the roof back on place, and put some straps on it.
Will it be better for a long-term fix to put a new building and relocate it?
That would be the best to do, but we don't have the money for that. We can do fixing, and it's gonna last a few more years. We can talk about it in the future, unless you guys wanna buy the bullet, that you're talking about, I don't know, maybe $60,000, something like that. But you have to replace the whole thing, that the pipes are metal. So you have to start from the ground up. Like we always talk about the clubhouse. If you want to do one thing, you have to pull permit for 5 to 4,000 to get everything in order to do this thing. So it's kind of difficult situation. It's, like Mara says, all we do.
I think it would be good because it will also allow us to come up with a design plan that we can have outside bathrooms for the basketball court after hours, as well as relocating it where it can also have some kind of amenity, like a little shack for the part-time position, for like a concession stand on the weekend when the pool was open to sell stuff. So relocating it, yeah, maybe more, but the long-term pro against it is, we relocate it, it gives us more amenities, and it also offers a better structure for years to come than pouring a couple thousand into it, and then a couple years later we can do it again, or we lose the building and now we just lost that money. It's the same thing I brought up about the pool last time. What's the point of patching it when we need to just get it done the right way so that we don't have to come back and do patchwork?
Well, what Mr. Bennett means about patching is the patching that needs to be done is going to last another 15, 20 years. It's not like it's going to be, yeah,
Some of the things, being in there,
Rehab.
Rehab.
Yeah.
Regular meeting.
Yeah.
What about the street names? The street names, the signs. They have continued to disappear? Or?
No, on the last month or so, we have only changed about 25 compared with 40 something or 50. So it's kind of getting better.
You're getting tight.
The new thing now is the bus stops signs. They've been doing a lot of disrespectful graphics on it and stuff like that, especially on Canal and Hunting Grove. So we're thinking about going into some of them you cannot, but some of them you can buy the stickers, and that would be a lot cheaper until it comes down, and then
Any other questions for the manager?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the pool. The pool itself, we was talking about there's a crack in it, and every time that they resurface it, they have to fill in the crack.
So every time they do a resurfacing on the pool, there's a from going to the deep side. It always cracks right in the middle of the.
Or it starts to slow down.
Yeah, on the slope. Every time they do the resurfacing, it's fixed.
Does the crack open up within time, or is it just something that they go and they grind down, check it, or?
Well, the last time, I'm 100% sure they did a really good job, but they cut off the actual concrete, and they kind of did it really deep in there, and they put a high concentrate concrete, something like that,
Yeah.
So I don't think it will come back again.
Yeah.
So far it's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it stays like that. Because the last time we paid almost $30,000.
Yeah. The thing is that pool, I mean, it's from the 70s, and a lot of the stuff is probably becoming obsolete on it. I mean, there's metal pipes in it. But at some point, I think it'd be good if we could go towards trying to look for a grant or something. I mean, if we have a grant writer, which we still have that lady available to us. If there's a way that we could do that, in some way try to come up with a newer design of a pool. I mean, it's probably gonna be very costly, but if we could get a grant, do more of a splash pad and kind of update everything, because that pool's just been a money pit forever. And it's just repair, and it's gonna come a point that something bad's gonna happen, and then we're gonna have to do it. So I think if we start working on something now, but it's a grant or whatever the board decides to do.
Since something in Central County has been fixed twice each time for more than 25,000 euros.
Yeah.
And it's up in Central County.
Yeah.
It is costly, the system that the pool has. I talk about it a lot of times. It's not really the system that it's supposed to be for a 66,000 gallons pool. We're not supposed to do it, basically. It's supposed to be feedings, automatic
supposed to be
feedings,
injected.
all that stuff. In the middle of the day, on summertime, the feeding process is not even 1/3 of the pool actually needs. So to keep up with it, we basically sometimes have to put most of the time manually the chlorine in the pool to keep up, so people don't get sick, stuff like that. To keep it between 3 and 10.
Yeah, at some point it'd be good to upgrade it. I mean, at some point get it completely removed and just do something completely new that lasts us another 50, 60 years hopefully.
Yeah, and another 57,000.
Yeah.
The whole system only.
Yeah, I mean, if there's plenty of grants available and stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, if we could use it, and there's not really a lot of strings attached to it. Then
There's a lot of state grants that Central County can apply for, but we have to apply. We have to fill out all the paperwork, apply with the grant writer, and have the county propose it for us. And the problem when we have the county propose it, they want to keep a portion of it. And then the other portion, the other bad part about being a water district is we can get grants for recreational use, but they'll award the county. They won't award us. So when I spoke with someone in the state, they said that Central County qualifies for a lot of grants because of the low income area, especially in needs of a lot of recreational use for the youth growth and stuff like that. But they will reward Central County with the reward, but it'll have to go through Hendry County. So the problem, and one of the reasons why I have been seeking donations instead of the grants, is because donations stays directly here and it goes strictly to what it needs to go to. And when it's a grant, they have certain criteria. So if they say we have to go through the county's gonna go, and they're gonna do what they do, and then we won't get the full portion of what it was for.
Yeah.
So that's the other bad side about the grants on our end of being a water control district. But donations are always welcome. Something that I also looked into too is partnering with a nonprofit locally and having them apply for the grant, and then once they get the grant, they give it to you as a donation. And that's what I have been doing and working on, is getting us a couple big donation grants to donate to the clubhouse for a covering for the basketball court and a couple other things for the clubhouse, because that's the fastest way that 100% of the proceeds goes to its cause, instead of it going through a whole nother entity, having to wait for them to approve it, and then so on. So that's really where it goes with state grants as well as federal grants.
Any more questions for the manager?
I got one more question. In regards to the school board sign says being graffiti or banned, is those people are from this area or coming in from someplace else? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
No.
I wish I would
Okay.
know who it is, but I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, we just get up in the morning, start picking up our highway technician goes out, and they just have to remove it.
But the way they do it, I believe they're from here from too. Because they do it all the time here, and they do it in the midnight.
There's not a lot of programs before this board had gotten up here that we started putting together and offering a lot of the community. There was really nothing for the kids to do, and especially after school, there's so limited of things here in Montour that we have, especially with funding. So being an advocate as well as having my organization here, we try to get a lot of the youth and a lot of them involved in the community, but compared to where a lot of the funding goes, it's to our neighboring city, so we don't get a lot of that luxury of after-school programs, a youth center, we don't get all of that. So for that, that's why we have the kids where, oh, I got nothing to do, I found a can of spray paint, and then that's what they do.
Well, that doesn't mean it's a kid either.
Oh, no,
Yeah, I don't think it's cheap.
I don't want to take it off the kids either. It could be anybody.
More like it para
Thank you, Emilio.
Yeah, we pretty much talked about everything in my report.
I'm sorry, Mr.
That's
Bell.
all right, we were talking about everything, but I did bring up, we handed out, plats, several meetings back. You all mentioned about, vacating some alleyways and some easements, so, I copied the plat that have those alleyways and easements on them. They're those colored sheets, there's 3 sheets here. And I just colored them up so you can see how many easements and alleyways there are. And the green colored strips you see on there are the 15-foot wide, what they were calling utility easements. And the yellow is, some of them are 10-foot wide walkways, they call them, and others are 20-foot wide alleys. alley pretty much runs parallel to 833, running north and south. And those east-west yellow strips are all walkways. So that, just wanted to give you a picture of what, if you decide to vacate the alleyways and easements, you know, there's a good many of them. And, but it could be done, and we could write descriptions for it.
I guess, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Sure.
So, who are they dedicated, like utilities, which are not dedicated, are they dedicated in favor of the district?
Yes, they were.
Oh, okay.
For the purpose of installation of utilities,
All right.
water, sewer, telephone, telegraph, all of they enumerate a bunch of different things that you use it for.
So, but for example, like Commissioner Iglesias talked about, the fiber. So-
Fiber's going overhead,
So this will be overhead.
totally overhead. It's gonna go on Lake Electric's existing lines.
So, yeah, so if, you know, if it's dedicated to Central County, then we can vacate it. So, you know, the only issue that the board really has to grapple with looking at this is that, can you ever foresee a situation in the future
I think it should
where
be.
you would
Yeah,
want to need something like this?
I don't think we
know.
should vacate all of them. I think we should grow with our community, grow with the people who come and ask for it. Especially, you know, businesses, people who've been here for years, you know, to say, hey, they wanna use it or combine both of their properties together, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because in the future, long term, we have to look at it in the growth. You can have two neighbors, you know, that one says they want it, the other one says that they want it, and it becomes a bickering match.
Yeah.
And in reality, you know, if Montora is to grow, you know, these may be used, you know, for fresh water, you know, we may never know, but this may be used for fresh water,
Well, let me
you know,
give you an
sewage and
example,
stuff like
in
that.
real life. So what we've done up to now, so that everyone knows, when someone has come to us, we've always said, yes, we give them a license. Okay, a license isn't recorded, and it can always be revoked. We can always take it back. And that's worked up to now. I think a couple of months ago, some fellow from, I think, the property appraiser's office suggested that, I don't know why he was involved with this, but somebody had suggested that we do some wholesale vacation. That's up to you. You know, in theory, you know, at some point in the future, the county could come to us and, who does water and sewer here?
South Shore Water does sewer and Flaghole. Everyone's well here, and I actually reached out to them to see if they would be willing. They just don't. They don't have the.
Yeah.
What
It's
it's taking
very
into research,
expensive.
but everybody wouldn't tie into it.
In theory, 10 years from now, 50 years from now, we'll have central water and sewer. And the biggest expense when you put in central is securing all the property interests to do that. You know, this, I mean, that's why when this was platted in the 70s, that's why they put this here. Because one day, there may be a need for utilities, you know, subsurface utilities. So,
Yeah, that's why I think we should keep it to a
it's.
certain basis, because God forbid someone come and put their beautiful home over one and it becomes one of those cases where we have to run that pipe through there. You may never know. So I think we should leave it at a case-to-case basis.
Mr. Bennett,
Yeah.
along 833, there is that line that runs parallel with 833,
Yes.
right? And I have property on that 833 as well. And I'd love to get that alleyway back. My question, can the county come back and get us? Because as I was misled many years ago, they told me all 833 is commercial, and it's not. There's rural residential and other things, and there are some commercial properties, correct? But if we vacate that alleyway, which I have an alleyway behind my property as well. If we vacate that, and let's just say there's a master plan from Henry County to allow businesses to come along 833, I think they will probably come to us and force our hand and say, how can everybody get off 833? Every business only have access from 833. And not come back from that alleyway. So for instance, if I lived in the community and I wanted to ride my bike to go to Joe Schmo's Rib Shack on 833, I wouldn't want to go on to 833, go into that Rib Shack. I'd like to, me personally, is utilize that alleyway, which is more safer for the community to access that business. So let's just say, for instance, all these lots along 833 are businesses. How, without this alleyway in the back, which I have one as well, and I'd love to get my alleyway, but how can everybody access this from 833 only? And the county say they're gonna allow it. I can't see the county saying that's gonna be allowed. I can see them saying intimate domain, I need that property.
Yeah, what they would do, I've seen this before, there's no way this could all be commercial unless they created a service road.
Sure.
Running that, north-south service road off of, I can give you.
Like a turnoff lane.
In Palm Beach County, where exactly, you have a main divided highway.
Yes, sir.
And then you have, exactly, you have that frontage road running along, and there'll be a couple of cuts along
Sure.
the way.
Sure.
That's the only way you can do it. Because the alleyway's 20 feet, that's never gonna be a road.
I understand. But that's my only concern. I'd hate for us to say one thing and then have to come back and, oh, by the way, because if I'm not mistaken, this corridor that we're looking at from Avenida del Sur to, I believe, Camino Real is, I forget the,
Is the one in the middle?
I forget what the
The one in
name
the
they
middle?
call it.
Like the,
Commercial. What is it? They call it something. That's the only thing that I would, if you could look into that for us, Mr. Bennett, would be greatly appreciated. Because I'd love to put a business there as well, but if I have to have a turnoff lane, that business is going to.
Does Henry County has the right to take away your right of way?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would just say that they can't.
You can condemn it, sure.
They can't.
Henry County?
They wouldn't be able to approve.
Henry County?
Or DOT, sure.
So can you imagine every property along 833 having a business?
No, I know what you're saying, I just wanna ask if they can take it away.
And the only,
Well, they have to pay for it. They can't just-
Yeah.
so what they would do is, let's just say, for instance, Mr. Bennett's an engineering firm. They would, before anything business is allotted, you have to turn in your plans. And then they're gonna take into account, hey, by the way, Montura's growing, we have this business here, this business there, this business where, you're gonna have to figure out another way to get into your property. Maybe they'll say, okay, now you have to put a turning lane. And the turning lane is, sometimes you have to do surveys, sometimes you have to do studies. Those you have to do. Yeah. So that's what I foresee in the future. I definitely would love to have my 10 feet, 20 feet, whatever it is, but I just don't want to mess something up where people come in and say, hey, I bought a commercial property, or I bought this property, because you can buy any property and try to take it before the Henry County, I forget what board it is, and try to get it converted to whatever, C1 or whatever you want to do. And then, hey, by the way, how are you going to get to your place of business when 833 becomes a lot of it for the whole community?
Would that allow construction and stuff down our alleyways, use of it for construction or anything like that?
That one I don't know.
Yeah, because I own a property right there, and I know that Central County cleaned one of the alleyways
Yes, sir.
for a business to access. Which me, I'm not in agreement, not because I have a property there, but the thing is that if we start doing that, then it's gonna be every other business that shows up there, they're gonna say, you clean my alleyway for me for your business, and then.
But it is our responsibility, that's our highway.
Right, but we control the usage of it, what is done with it.
We control, that's, well, it's our outlet, yes.
Correct.
At this present moment, it's our outlet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They don't, all the, if you look along, all the businesses pretty much don't, but.
Right,
And I believe we did decline somebody the outlet use at one time.
The 20 feet.
Correct?
You guys have declined everyone.
yeah, because prior to me being a board member, I asked about it, and I was inclined, but anything that was 10 to 15, they'll give it to the landlord.
Well, no, like Fumero said, it's a license, you can always take it back.
Right.
We have the right in the office done by the board for me to sign.
Correct.
The license for 10 and 15. But
Yeah.
the 20, they left it as whoever had the alley for 20
Right.
feet needs to come over here and ask the board.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, because I know whenever certain landowners ask for theirs, they're able to get theirs, and then like I said, prior to me being a board member, I asked about the alleyway, and now it's declined.
But I don't have the right over.
No, I know.
You guys have the right. If you have a 10 or
Right.
15 feet, you want the water to go to
Which me, myself, I won't vote because it'll be a conflict of interest for me, because I own a property there, so I'd have to stay out of that conversation.
Mr. Benny, can you look into that for us? See if we did give some of this up, will it cause any problems with maybe Henry County planning and zoning or anything, stuff like that, just to make sure. Because I hate for somebody to have to put in a turning lane, that would be difficult. We can keep these, right, Mr. Benny? We can hold on to these?
Oh, yeah. We come out,
You've got.
we come out, these maps is incomplete. These maps is incomplete.
Not the entire one.
That's what I'm saying, I was trying to find out, well, we are right here, and I said,
Yeah.
He only put in the map.
oh,
the
the
portion
section,
of Montula that has the
okay.
easement.
That's why I was lost.
Any more questions for the engineer?
Yeah, one question, staff gauges. I know a while back they discussed about putting staff gauges at the pump stations. Whatever happened with that?
We got the staff gauges, that's what the pipes were ever put in.
Let's install them.
Yeah, that's what, okay, some of them may have been put in.
Yeah, no, I was asking about it, he said, okay.
Yeah, I'll get with you though. What we usually do is put them on board and then, the pipes should be there.
Yeah.
Treasurer's report?
This is the report through December 22, so 3 months. It was first $372,002 per month. Our tax assessment, which is $584. Get quite a bit of them in November and in December. So we got $1 million of it so far. Got $1,404,000 left to receive. Next page shows we have $872,000 this month. Small amount of property taxes, $1,600. Collected about $161,000 more current taxes than the year before. Delinquent tax collections are down a little bit. 7,600. Go to page 5, that's the year-to-date revenues and expenditures. So the second column is the current year-to-date. It said it showed $1 million so far in the first 3 months. Look at the bottom line, very bottom, it shows share taxes in December. As far as the expenditures go, as Herminio has discussed, one of the things that a lot of money's been spent on and shows an expense here is these millings, but they're gonna be used over the whole year. So we've got 137, this is about the sixth number down in our expenditures. The maintenance of roads is up, and the rebuilding of dirt roads is the millings that are going to be expensed out over the year. So if you look at the total expenditures of $1,033,000, if you compare that to 3/12 of the budget, that would be $784,000. So we're $249,000 over budget for the first 3 months, which is 32%. However, the millings is the largest part of that. As we've discussed, those are going to be used out throughout the whole year. So that's where we're at with that primarily. So if we got any questions, answer them.
Mr. Board, did you break this down? Like for instance, that couple times that I've asked for?
We didn't get it in time to put in this report, but I've got set up here where we're gonna have the first month actual compared to the budget and the variance, and then 3 months to date actual budget in comparison, and then show the total budget. But it's running out over, if I add the one more column I want to, it's gonna have to go landscaped like that.
I don't have any issue.
So we've got it ready to go, but due to some illness and the fact that this is payroll month where all W-2s have to be done, we've got it this far, but at the next meeting, we'll start getting them every month.
Okay.
We're tweaking it a little more.
All right. Where are we at with percentage, Mr. Boyd, you said?
We're 32% over budget. If you could just compare the 3/12 of the annual budget to the 3 months on page 5. You're outside there. But that, the fact that we're $249,000 over budget, if you look at the expenditures, the 5th and 6th one down shows maintenance of roads is up, but the big thing is the rebuilding dirt roads. That's like $300,000 or so of millings.
Yes, sir.
That really are gonna be used up during the year.
We bought them ahead of time.
They're paid for right now, so that's holding us over the budget.
So everything that I see on the right-hand side with the parentheses is where we're.
That's how it compares to the total budget.
Understood.
Now, we're gonna have a lot more information next time going forward, where we're gonna just take the budget and do like 3/12, and you're comparing year-to-date to the year-to-date portion of the budget. So it'll be more.
Okay.
But anyway, you're correct, it's got a parentheses on it, that means it's over budget already.
All right, I'll get with you because I think some of these things are a little off, are probably in different areas. I just want to get this cleaned up as soon as possible, so I'll reach out to you on my part for that.
Okay. Like I said, we've got a draft going already.
Anybody have any questions for the accountant, Mr. Wong?
Yeah, I have a question. As far as the CD, where does that reflect on here, on the interest that we make off the CDs?
Interest income, the fourth one down there, $11,199.
And then the other thing with that money, where does that go into? That goes towards the levy, does it go towards paying equipment, what is it?
It's just like any other revenue, just get put in the bank.
So it doesn't have a specific thing that it goes to?
Mr. Boyd, with that being said, I recall when I wasn't on the board, that revenue went to pay for the debt that we had on the levy. Is that not true now?
Well, I mean, it goes toward, I mean, the debt we pay on the levy is well more than $11,000.
No, I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying, I was overheard in a meeting, it's been a while back, it's been years back, but the interest that we gained from the CDs would go to pay that debt of whatever, $1 million, $2 million, whatever, before all of us, for that levy project.
If I may on that, on the meeting that you're referring to, well, Mr. Napoles, at that moment, what he was trying to do is, he talked to the board to get $500,000, I think, if I don't mistake, at that moment, to put him into a CD at that moment to pay for the levy. And after that, the equipment came around and this and that. So after we bought the equipment and everything else, that money, it is, yes, you are right to pay for the levy. So what Mr. Boyd trying to say is that whatever interest come out of there, it goes straight into the account for whatever is needed. For the levy, for the equipment, for...
So let's...
Basically what you would be doing, you'd be taking revenue that you're using to pay expenses that were already behind and paying down debt faster than you're required to, which we can't really afford to do.
So with that being said, at what, can you give us for the next month to see where we're at with the repayment of the dike debt? Where are we at with that, and what time frame, what is left, what actual funding is going to that? Because God forgive me, I assumed that all that interest was going towards that and nothing else, regardless of all these other capital things that were being purchased or not purchased. I was under the assumption after that meeting a while back, and I believe it was Mr. Annapolis, that all that interest was going, whatever it might be, $5 or $15,000, that all that was going toward the dike debt.
Well, the dike debt is, yeah, I mean, I can give you that information easy. It's in the audit every year.
Understood.
What the payout is.
Are you saying,
The
in
interest of,
addition to the payments, you're saying use the interest to lower the principal?
In other words, take this $11,000 and prematurely lower the principal of the loan.
if I'm not mistaken, that's what, in the meeting when I sat in, that's what I heard that the board had approved to move in that direction, that, because it's like money that wasn't there. Hey, just use that money, we're gonna have to pay that debt off anyway, so the dike, use that interest coming off that CD to go to that, and eventually, whether it be 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that number would, that debt would be resolved.
Are any of those CDs maturing soon?
It's actually not in the CD. First Bank is a very aggressive, high yield. Our checking account yields 3.65% interest. So the CDs that are out there, that are available, that are public money guaranteed, aren't even hardly paying that much.
Still? Because, you're right, the last 2 years, we made nothing, but we're entering a time now, those CDs are not paying.
Well, you can find some CDs that pay a little more than 3.65. And also, the public back. How much is In other words, you could see a teaser CD rate or something governmental entity that requires to pledge money is going to go out to use it.
How much money was in there? Was it like $1 million or was it less than that?
Checking account was $1 million to 500,000, must be 102.6.
What yearly, well, I know that all the interest rates are gonna fluctuate, but what are those make off of that? And we have a lot of money locked up into something that's not gonna give us anything in return. And if we decide to take it out, we're gonna be penalized for it. No?
It's a high yield, it's a special, it's a high yield, public funds checking account. Low rate, it's the other kind. Now what you can do, you can lock in some of that money for about 3 years, get a little bit high rates, but we don't know when we're gonna need it. We're able to get 3.65 guaranteed pledging and all that with no restrictions. Like right now, when we put tax money in there, we're getting $1 million put in there in 2 months. It's automatically earning 3.65. We're going to be using it throughout next year.
If you can bring us the next meeting, when you do that, what debt we have and the timeframe and what we're paying toward, we greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
Any other questions, people? Any other questions to the treasurer? All right. The attorney's report?
Yes, all right, I'll start with the reservoir. So at the last meeting, we talked about the reservoir and the fact that the next big step is applying for a permit for the South Florida Water Management District. So per the board's direction, I met with our consultants. So we've hired a consultant at a very good price, one-man operation. Wants to stay with this guy, so I volunteered to help the consultant get things moving, because I think you know, those of you who work with the tribe, all consultants right now are 100% occupied. All surveyors, all engineers are 100%. So small guys like us aren't at the top of the list. The tribe is, but not us. So I'm going to try to pitch in and help put together the permit application. So our goal is to try to put something together in the next 30 to 45 days. I understand the permit application is $10,000 fee, and it's not just form, it's hundreds of pages under it. We have to submit what's called a mitigation. So wetlands have been impacted, so now we have to mitigate for those wetlands. And the way you mitigate it, the least expensive way, is you do some plantings on site. And those, once you do the plantings, which costs money, you have to hire a separate company for that. Then you have to do 5 years of monitoring of those plants. Any of the plants die, you got to replant them. You got to submit monitoring reports. The first year quarterly, then biannually, and then annually after that. They set up success criteria. You have to have a certain aerial extent of the wetland vegetation. If you don't do it, you got to do it all over again. Then we have to survey all of the wetland areas. This is a massive survey. My guess is it's going to be $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a survey. They got a surveyor, and maybe if you have some contacts, because the surveyors I deal with, the work I do for Lennar, D.R. Horton, they're having trouble getting surveyors. So we've got to get that survey work done. Then we're going to have to hire someone to put a plan together to do a proposal on the fencing. We're going to have to put all this on a cabinet. Those of you, like I'm sure Ron, we have to put all on CAD. What area areas are we gonna fence?
Okay.
Yeah. What areas are we gonna fence? We can't fence all the wetland areas, it's gonna go broke. So what areas are gonna be fenced? How much signage are we gonna put up? Every 50 feet? Every 150 feet? What kind of signs? Earthwork. We're gonna have to create new trails, miles, new trails in the upland areas. The existing trails that have been used for decades through the wetlands are gonna have to be closed off, regraded, and blocked. You know, that's clearly those are areas we're gonna need to put fences. We're gonna be doing conservation easement over the wetland areas. So these, this is a, off the top of my head, outline elements of the work. I think this will understand this level of work. One way to do it fast, I'll repeat what I said at the last meeting, is hire Johnson Engineering. We charge $3 or $4 and their consultant who works out of, small warehouse. All this can be done with money. I can crack the whip with this guy, but we paid him $5,000. He's just not going to drop all the other work. So you all have to make some strategic decisions. And again, I do permitting work in my practice, so I have a rough idea of these things. But then once you get all that work, you file the permit, and it begins a review process. In 30 days, you review it and send you a request for additional information. By the way, the 5,000 consultants just do the initial site work. They're going to have to re-up for the rest of it. My guess is there's at least 200,000, maybe 300,000. I don't know where that money is going to come from, but that I want to paint a very clear picture of what's involved. The reservoir is not subject to enforcement action of the Southfield Water Management District. We cannot bring vehicular traffic in there unless and until we get a permit. We don't get a permit unless and until we hire additional consultants and spend a couple of $100,000 to put all of this work together. It's not go ahead and do it. So, we need to make some decisions.
I think we give it a decision at the last meeting, we check in to see what this is.
I think he's working on it, that's why I'm with all this stuff.
The only thing with me, what concerns me is I think as the commissioner spoke earlier, it is a tedious process, but I think the community that, because not everybody's for it, right? But the ones that are for it, like, hey, where are we at?
Yeah.
So what, my thing is what I believe we need to display to the community and everybody else is what boxes need to be checked off, where are we at, and maybe there needs to be, hey, to get to this box, it's 25,000. To get to this box, 100,000.
Yeah.
And if we have to have a workshop with the community, and how do we,
I don't
want to fund this?
Yeah, I'm giving you just from my experience, I don't do budgets. We have to have an engineering firm, do the budgets, but what I'm trying to be very frank about is that this is not gonna move fast unless you wanna consider going to a larger consulting firm. That's gonna be $50K just to begin the work. If not, then this is gonna take a while.
Gotcha. And in reference to, like for instance, there is grant money out there as well. There's the resilience, there's the infrastructure grant, so there's tons of stuff.
So we did.
The United States government put out the
Yeah,
last.
so that's something that I wrote a note when Chris mentioned. I strongly urge that we hire, and again, you get nothing with nothing, you have to hire a grant writer. Writing grants is an art. You have to know what to write and who to write it to. Federal agencies, state agencies, nonprofits. I highly recommend that we hire a grant writer.
What about the lady that brought over here?
She's a lawyer who I've done work
She
with
did really
before.
good.
She did great, but she only does resiliency grants, that's all she does.
Oh, she don't does the,
No, she doesn't, that's not working.
well, it's fine, a good one that does that, that's it.
Yeah, but, okay, I don't know grant writers, do you? I mean.
You're a lawyer, I am a lawyer.
Right.
You're a lawyer.
Right, lawyers don't do grants, I'm not a,
So-
I'm trying to help out, but you're asking me to, you know, I don't know grant writers.
Well, you do the legal issues from Central County.
Anyway.
I don't do the legal issue.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess I would Google grant writers just like anyone else here would do. I mean, you know, I don't have any, I
I'll get you.
don't do grants.
I'll get you.
So, but, going back on that, we filed for a $4 million grant on the person I brought here. A part of that grant is we do have a couple $100,000 in that grant for wetland restoration. So that grant is a legislative grant, okay? So it's really not even a grant, it's a legislative appropriation. So that will, the legislative session starts this year in March, it ends in May. So we would find out in the summer if we got the grant, which we may or may not, and if we get it, for how much. God willing, we get that grant, and in that grant, there will be wetland money. But again, that's 6 months from now. Nothing's gonna happen quickly. That's the issue, that I know there's an urgency here, and I'm sure there's people here. With this path, I don't wanna blow smoke here, it's gonna be slow. If we wait for that money, you're waiting another 6 months.
Let's hire, I mean, this is my opinion. We're being stuck with this gentleman over here, and you have been honest with us. And we're gonna be stuck for one more year, probably.
Yes.
Let's move the horses. Now let's contract the company that he's saying that it's gonna cost about $50,000. So we move forward. Well, so we move forward because I know a lot of residents from here, from Ventura Ranch, have been talking to me about when they're gonna be able to go in there with the ATVs and enjoy the reservoir with the ATVs with the family. And to be honest with you, I'm sincere, I express myself with all respect. We don't have a beach here, we don't have many things to do here in Ventura. So if people want to enjoy going there with the family and all that, with the ATVs, we gotta do what we gotta do, or we're gonna be stuck here. And you'll be shutting down until the winter, right?
Yeah, well, and
For
if
one
we
more year,
file
let's
the
go ahead.
application tomorrow.
The company, like he said, that company is gonna make it happen.
Remember,
And let's make it happen.
everything I outlined here, assuming it was done and sitting here at my desk, and we filed the application tomorrow, and I think some of you who work with the agency know, if we were lucky, we'd get a permit in 6 to 8 months.
Maybe.
If we were lucky.
But we have to do the paperwork.
First, you have to do the paperwork.
If we don't do the paperwork, we're gonna
6
be
to 8
talking about
months
that.
is everything
For 2 more
goes
years.
swimmingly.
Can you email us to see what the firm needs to, what is it that the firm needs to do for us?
Sure.
If you give us a step-by-step.
Yep.
And the most important thing is, again, we are a board. What does the board, do we proceed in getting costs from a engineering firm, a different size engineering firm instead of, you know, what this young.
I'm making a motion to do it.
Yeah, or maybe, and you, I know you have good contacts. I
Excuse
mean,
me?
one of your environmental consulting firms.
So, my question is, if we decide to take this route, is this the way to get there, or this is just, we might get there through this?
It's just the
So
beginning.
we start spending all this money,
Yeah.
what's the possibility of us getting it open compared to,
Yeah, but
Oh,
maybe
there's
we're
a
just gonna throw
lot
this money
of
Let me
away?
say
if
this.
it kept going the way
It
it's
will be
going
open.
now.
We
We
will
will
get a
destroy
permit.
and check those
The only
money.
question is,
How much money?
how many hoops do we have?
We have to make it happen. We have to make it happen.
Everything I
Have
said
that.
is doable,
But it had
and everything I
to
said,
be
this much I do know, because I do this
stuff
for,
that we could never
it's
come back
permittable.
with.
Oh,
We're thinking about.
Oh, you pay to play,
yeah. Yeah,
that's what it is, you got the money to pay, and you get,
but there's no question, this can all be done. It's really, again,
how much money
how
we
much
spend?
money we're willing to spend to move it fast.
So,
I think it's also fair for the community to
oh, we
know,
definitely need a workshop for that.
to know, well, besides that what we're talking about until now is not the reservoir, it's 400 acres of the
Right.
reservoir.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not the reservoir.
Yeah.
But
yes.
400 acres that they're gonna be using. Yeah.
400 acres.
We've been talking about that for 2 years.
No, I know, but the community might
They
get
know,
the
they know,
idea
they
that
know.
we're gonna get the reservoir back.
No, it's.
No, it's
400
400 acres.
And
So they can go in there, enjoy it, and write the
And as they go
ATVs.
surveying, I'm sure they're gonna take soil samples to figure out where the wetlands are, and it
Well,
might get even
we-
smaller, it might get bigger.
Our consultant has already done that. So
Yeah.
we've already had site visits with the district.
Mhm.
You weren't on the board, so we have a map. We have a
Yeah, I've seen the
wetland
map.
upland, you saw it, yeah. So we kind of, sort of, we're there already.
Right.
We've come to general agreement, now they want them surveyed.
Right.
You know, but we have a general agreement on where the uplands are and where the wetlands are. And like Emilio's 100% right, the reservoir will never be fully open. Only the upland areas will be
Will have
open.
accessible.
The wetland areas will be closed off, fenced, and there'll be signage. And the agency will want us to present them with a security plan. How often are we gonna go out there and monitor if anyone's gone around the fence and gone into the wetlands? And if people have gone into those wetlands, the reservoir will be shut down again.
About 400
It
acres.
won't be open again for, you can count it in years, not months.
400
What?
acres.
400 acres.
That's a lot of acres.
That's the only.
For $50,000 is not much.
Yeah, so this is, if you picture the
Well,
reservoir.
it's not
What else?
the full 400 acres.
No, no.
We still,
It's
if you come to
250.
the office, I can give it to you. We still have to mitigate. There's 300 and 100. There's a wetland right in the middle. We still have to mitigate that
Yeah,
spot.
so there's two big upland areas. They're literally like this. And then there's a tiny little, unfortunately.
You have to attach the.
We have to zap that wetland to connect the two upland areas.
Correct.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
That's the
Then you can make better use.
just like a
And
tree furnace.
that's part of our plan. We're gonna zap
Keep
those
destroying the
wetlands.
road.
But also, there are wetlands that have been impacted
Let's
from
forget about it.
decades of the ATV use. We have to undo all of that, which means in some of those areas, regrading them lower and putting in wetland vegetation.
So
Let's make it happen.
what he was explaining is I went with the DEP and the South Florida Water Management into the reservoir for all those inspections that Mr. Fumero is talking about. So all the trails, every single one of the trails that are through the wetlands, through the 2,000 acres wetlands that we have, all of those 12 needs to be fixed before anything else happens.
I didn't read that.
Part of it.
I didn't read that.
Is it also a-
In the report that I read from South Florida Battery Management. and-
No, that's on the report from the consultant, that's why
Right,
Fumero's
so
talking about it.
again, he mitigated with South Florida Water Management of the impact that was done to the wetlands. And in this report to South Florida Water Management, a lot of the stuff that was impacted, a lot has grown back, like Mother Nature, but
Yeah, there's still, for example.
there's still,
So, let's face it, on the ATV, what's the best place to have fun? It's in the mud flats. So it's the wetland areas that got hit the hardest. So what's happened is you have a trail, and that trail is now a little bit lower. So when it rains, it becomes almost like a swale, like a little ditch. And the water doesn't circulate around and hydrate all the wetlands. So they're gonna say, we're gonna go out there, well, you're not gonna do it. They're gonna make us shoot transects. That's what all the survey work does. The survey work is 100 grand. You're gonna have to shoot transects through a lot of the larger, not everything, but a lot of the larger, because they're gonna want us to regrade those areas so the hydrology will be better. It's true, in many areas, the wetland vegetation has started coming back. That's good, that works in our favor.
Correct.
But they're still gonna want those areas.
No, of course.
to be
Let's make it
regraded.
happen.
my thing is, I'm optimistic. We have to be able to present something and know something so we can see.
That's why we have to go with that company that
Should we attach this to the, for the goal, or should we, what options do we have? So, Any questions from the board, any comments, should we proceed, or how?
Let's go and talk to the company and make it happen.
Any comments from the floor?
So a lot of the restoration has to be done to get it back to natural ground, restoring everything that was dredged. That material, is that something that Central County would do, is that something we have to subcontract out?
So,
That's up to us. I
yeah,
mean,
The
they don't
material.
care.
Right.
You know, they'll come back and inspect it.
We make it happen ourselves.
So does the same material have to go back in wherever the soil is there?
Like if it was mud removed, did you have to reinstall mud for a certain time?
No, I think as long as, because, you know, we got a little bit of leeway, and again, I'm no biologist, but I've done it before. Just regrading the areas so those trails don't turn into swales.
Yeah, then everything just should flow.
Yeah.
I've been going through our reservoirs in the 1980s, early 80s, 90s. I love that stuff. We have a beautiful place in there. Let's make it happen. You know, contract the company that you're talking about.
nobody's against to make it happen.
No, I'm not saying you're against. I'm just talking myself to the board. Let's make it happen. Let's make a motion. Let's make it happen. That's it.
The thing is, there's again, that's why they elected most of us on the board, because we have to.
Right.
We have to make a decision.
Exactly.
But we have to have.
Let's vote. Let's vote on it.
We have to have diligent question.
I got a question, Lee. Regarding to that grant, you were talking about 200,000 maybe there for the wetland. Did that money could come down and come straight to us or to the county?
Yeah, so good question. That money will come straight to us. The grant we applied for happens to allow water control districts. Remember, that money would come December.
If
it comes.
If everything works out.
If we don't get a heart attack or we done before, you know, I know. Then you'll get a heart attack tomorrow. I might die. Let's do what we can.
The vice chair asked that question, is it budgeted?
It's not in our budget. We don't, the day-to-day operations of the roads, you know, that's another thing that we have to look at. And then that's why I want to do the festival to bring in some extra revenue that we can utilize elsewhere. But we have to look at other options. We can't risk to take such a big bite out of, especially out of the budget, to do something like that and it be a gamble. And then let's say, you know, God forbid everything's good, we get it, and then we have that one bad apple, and then we wasted all that money getting the reservoir where it needed to be. So we have to be very cautious. Do I want the reservoir open? Absolutely, but we can't just jump into something.
The only way we're going to open the reservoir is if we move forward. We've been talking about opening the reservoir for 2 years, and we don't do nothing about it. We're going to spend 5 more years talking about the reservoir, and we don't do nothing about it.
We're just gonna make sure that we commit to something, we're on the right path.
So let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Hold on.
The first time we went to the reservoir, it's a matter was with us, right? And Benny. So we drove not all the way to the back, but we drove through a lot of trails. At that moment, it was a mess. Basically. So the second and third time, I was by myself with the engineer from the state and the guy from Paul. So the guy was really clear on what he said. He said, whatever happened, this is what he said. I don't know if it's what's going to be done, but the engineer from the state was clear and said, it doesn't matter what you guys want to do, but one, every trail needs to be fixed, including the holes on the trail. There's big holes on the trail. Second, no wetland can be touched ever again. And third, which is the biggest part of it, well, you said that we can do the fixing on the trail on ourselves. Just so you know, that's going to take about 6 months just to do it.
If we never started, we never make it happen.
I know, but just for you to have an idea.
6 months.
And third, in the winter, yes. So, and the biggest part of it was, he said, we need to fence.
It's not what it says.
He said, we need to separate with a fence, with a 4x4s and a cable, with rods.
Wait a minute, are you against opening the reservoir
No,
they are, as a matter of fact.
We're giving us trucks
I'm
every
giving you,
every time we want to move forward, they're giving us
Mr.
trucks.
Santana, I think your question is, the reason why is because I mentioned before that I'm not against, I'm just giving you the
Every
information.
time we're gonna move
Hold on,
forward,
I'm
we put
giving
up
you the
obstruction.
information where you were not present, and I was.
About 2-3 times, Martha have to correct you, saying that is not on the report.
I'm not, I didn't say it was on the report, I'm saying
What the man told me.
what the man told me was clear, he says, there's gotta be 20 feet between the wetland and the upland to separate the
So let's do
wetland.
what we have to do, let's move forward.
And that's what we're trying to make a very quick decision.
Okay, listen, I'm here to everybody. We know we want to open the reservoir for the ATV and all that. Since we have the, in Santiago, the Christmas Film Festival, why don't we start looking into that to get those revenue, invest some money? I mean, let's start one step at a time.
What about if we don't have no revenue?
Let's take a look at that first, okay? With a view that we're gonna go, the goal is to open that or do that report. Hopefully the grant come through too, but let's do one step at a time. We're talking to me everybody all over, and let's do one at a time and see if we get those funds to get this going. And then we can spend the money, the 200 or 300,000, whatever it costs, but we know we have revenue coming in if we agree on that festival, on that contract.
What do you need, anybody else on the board have any questions before I ask the attorney something?
No, the biggest question I had was, do we even have it in our budget?
We don't have a line item in the
No,
budget.
we've
no
not
line
item.
budgeted
Money.
this. And also, I mean, if we could find out that we get 220,000 or whatever from the grant, then it's easier to spend that money. If he's talking $250,000 altogether, and also there's the question, if we spend money ahead of time,
Sure.
and then get the grant, are they gonna allow us to reimburse ourselves for the money we've already spent? That may not be the case.
Could be, could be.
So we could be spending that money to get the grant and not get the money back. I mean, the other question is, do people mind their taxes being raised to pay $250,000 if we don't get the grant?
Well, and that's what I think, what Mr. Moreno said, and the rest of the board saying, okay,
One step at a time.
well, if I'm not mistaken, what was, so let's say for instance, Remigio, we have, let's just throw a number, 7,000 lots, correct?
Yes.
Our best year here, how many actual keys went to the reservoir of 7,000 lots?
175.
So what's the percentage of 7,000, 175? You're good at math. Come on now, throw it out. 2%?
Not even one.
Okay, so that's where we have to be careful as a whole community. Let's just say 1% says no. 1% wants it. Let's say the 99 doesn't. I'm for it being open. I want it to be open. I just know we speak as a whole, so that's why it's very important that we have to go to the whole community. And most likely, Gladys, your taxes as well as my taxes will definitely have to go up again to do this. I'm not against it, I'm for it. I just want you to know that it's gonna have to be complete buy-in from all of us, and all of us are going to say, hey, as a community, we speak on behalf of you guys. We said as a whole, we're going to buy into this, but it will come at a cost to every taxpayer here. I just want everybody to understand that, because it's not budgeted in here.
So every year, we never sold more than 175 keys. Some people say it's 275. The only reason why they say that is because the keys always start on 100.
Right.
So it's basically 175. 175 out of 7,000 families is not even 1%.
How much do you get per, the 175 times what? How much?
The last time we were charging was 150.
150.
Yeah, and that was raised,
$26,000.
yes, that was,
Doesn't even cover security.
yeah, that was intended, raised, it was 50 and then they raised $100 on the key. So we can cover for the security. Which it was really never covered, but it was something.
So as you can see, there's some very important decisions that we need to make. So, Mr. Famero, what do you need from the board so we can make a motion, go forward, or regroup, punt? What do we need?
Well, again, if you want to expedite the process, my recommendation is that we retain another firm, larger firm, to do the work. You know, I'm putting together the application to help out, but I've never done it before, I'm trying, but that's not the way to do it fast.
Can you actually tell me what type of, what the firm needs to do?
Prepare an environmental resource permit application.
Is that ERP?
ERP.
Is that the $50,000?
That would be the initial fee to prepare the application.
Oh, so that would be the initial fee, 50,000.
Yeah.
How far can that go?
Not, I mean, most of the work is front-loaded, so that would cover most of it. There might be another 5, 10, or 15, but no, it wouldn't be much more than that for the environmental consulting firm.
Where do the firms gather their information? Would they come through you, the office? Where would they get through?
Well, up to now, it's been me managing the process. I'm happy to do it, I'm familiar with the process, but it's...
Okay. I just seen, I was at a, like I say, at a thing in Pompano the other day, and I seen some firms there, smaller firms, that they're looking to do business, they're trying to do business, and that might be a great opportunity. But because I know not everybody does ERP. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A lot of people would sub it out to somebody else to.
Well, engineering firms would sub it out, but environmental consulting, that's
Correct.
their bread and butter.
Right, that's what they do, that's their niche.
If anybody has names or contacts, please, I'll call them tomorrow if you give me the information. I always look, instead of looking east where it's more expensive, I look west, Fort Myers.
West got money, bro, that's old money down there.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of...
That's old money in the West Coast, buddy.
Yeah.
They say there's more money on the West Coast than the East Coast. That's what I've heard. That's why the traffic lights shut off at 8 o'clock. So, what is it you need from the board so we can let everybody know?
That's it, I mean, if
We need
the
to
board
approve the money
wants
for
to make
the
it-
firm.
Make it a priority, we just need to, we're not gonna move fast with this consulting firm. It's a one-man operation, he's up to
You be
here.
saying that for 2 years.
So, do you need let me see.
And if, you have some contacts, like, firms that maybe,
Yeah.
I'll call them tomorrow, give me a name, and I'll chase them down.
Any more questions for anybody on the board to the attorney before we make a motion on something?
What is the motion?
The motion would be on the floor for all of us. Do we want to proceed with a larger firm to move forward to prepare an ERP for us to present to South Florida Water Management?
And that's us coughing up the 50,000.
Again, we don't know what that number could be.
Yeah, they're gonna, so the way it works
You just do
is,
another
you
number.
come to them, you say, I want you to do A, B, and C, and they send you a proposal.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be in that ballpark, maybe a little less, maybe a little more.
So what about if we do it like this? If we vote on to get an engineering firm to give us a proposal on an ERP, and if that number, whatever that number might be, we can vote on that from going forward and see how that works out. Instead of us saying, oh yeah, we committed to it, so we have to go with,
Yeah.
because it could be 25,000, it could be 50,000, it could be 60,000. Then
Yeah.
we're gonna have to, as a board, think about, look at this budget and also look at our community members. If this is something that we wanna do, we better start doing some GoFundMe, bake sales, Girl Scout cookies, finding grants,
OnlyFans.
donations, whatever.
More fairs.
Yeah, fairs every other week. So do we want to have a motion on the floor to provide a quote for a larger firm to provide us an ERP so we can turn it over to the South Florida Water Management, but depending on the price that we get back, we come back and vote on that to see if we can go forward. And also we do our due diligence, work within the community, as well as figure out ways, because there is going to be some financial things to do with this. And as Mr. Self said, and the rest of us I've heard, is if we're going to commit to something like this, let everybody know it does come at a cost. I'm for it. I'd love for us to coexist with our community, with our nature, but I'd hate to be that person that messes it up because we spend a lot of money.
We go the right direction and that we don't fall back into this mess again. Just do it right the first time if we're gonna head that direction.
And that's what we need to do. We need to think as a committee. We need to, if we're gonna go all in, we need to do it right the first time. If we're gonna spend the money, we need to spend it, do it right, instead of putting Band-Aids. So can we get a motion on the floor, what we just discussed?
Make a motion.
All right, motion by Supervisor Santana. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carries 5-0 for to provide a quote from a larger firm on an ERP software water. Anything else on that, John? You have
No,
anything
that's
else?
it. I mean, I've gone over the change made to the meeting, the core policy, which you're going to look at. You should also have in your materials that drafted, an overview of public records, sunshine, and ethics laws. If you have any questions, please, as always, call me. Just on the grant too, I don't know. I know the city of Okeechobee uses a grant writer. I'm going to find out who that person is. I know they've had a good experience, and I would ask any of you who know somebody, if you have contact information, I'm happy to jump in and make phone calls on that as well. I think we really could benefit from a grant writer, because this community meets all the criteria for so many, socioeconomic, all of that, Hendry County, press the right buttons, but it's professional, it knows where the money is, it knows how to find access.
And do they all have to end up going through Hendry County?
So all these grant programs are different. Like the one we recently did for resiliency, it happens to be the water control districts. There's another part of that resiliency thing, just as the Vice Chair Santiago said, unfortunately, a lot of these programs are key to counties and cities. There are some. Do I know what they are? No. There's some. Even FEMA, there are grant writers that all they do, the only thing they do is chase FEMA money.
And there's a federal grant that we can actually get right now with the Biden administration for the reservoir. The only problem is we have to go through the county, and the county's the one, it specifies in there, because especially so I had to look into it. The county's the one who has to operate them on our behalf. So that if we say, let's say we get the grant, all happening, the county's the one that has to
The grant
spearhead
we
it.
got a couple of years ago from the state, it's for drainage improvements.
Yeah.
That was through the county.
1.6 million.
Right.
All right. Not yet. They're working on a few
As
things.
Mr. Clay said,
They're working on a few emails and things.
It's right here.
Trying to take the arms out of my foot.
Registration fees.
All right, thank you, Mr. Romero. We'll go with the supervisor's report. Supervisor Self, you have the floor. We'll go Supervisor Self, Santiago, Santana, Moreno, and I'll finish it up.
Yeah, I just have one thing is for John, I reached out to you about whenever I was able to access my emails. I was kind of scanning through them. I see a lot of misuse of prior board members, they used the email to target a lot of landowners and stuff and to purchase and make payments through it, and stuff like that, and where I would raise awareness up to you. But if there's a way that we can make sure that the emails are being utilized for what they're supposed to be for Central County Water Control functions, and not for personal attacks, not for trying to get code enforcement to mess with people, any kind of personal attacks.
Yeah, Chris called me earlier this week, and in fact, he has a Central County email account, and he sent me a few emails, and basically, I think you should, a Central County email, when you send an email to the county, or whomever, it should only be about Central County business. So for example, if you have a problem with your neighbor and you want to call code enforcement, don't use your Central County email because that's personal business. Sure. So it's Central County email only government business, nothing personal. And as you'll see in the memo I wrote too, and I think all of you know this already, but there should be no interactions by and between board members because of the sunshine law. And remember too, this is like the rule of thumb I tell all of my clients. When you write something on the Central County email, it's there forever, but look at it and say, would you be okay if it was published on the front page of the Palm Beach Post? If the answer is yes, then go ahead and send it. But if it's something that you would not want to be in the newspaper, don't do it. It's a simple test, because it's all your emails, all your Central County emails are public record. Anybody, for any reason, can request a copy of it. So, just be mindful and careful because you're an elected official. You're held to a higher standard. You have laws that apply to you that don't apply to people in the audience, and so the point is just be careful. And again, as always, if you have a question, you're not really sure if you go this way or go that way, please, every one of you have my cell phone. I always call you back within 24 hours. So call me if there's any question.
I'll call you, I spend the whole day and then I call me.
I just want to know if there's any kind of way that we could maybe have stuff like that audited to where we make sure that it's not happening. Because the last thing the community needs is for elected officials to target the community. That's nonsense. It's pretty disgusting to see people from this or nothing or now prior doing that kind of stuff. So there has to be, as well as there has to be a check and balance with everything. We need to make sure that we keep our butts in line just as much as anybody else. We don't have no special rights higher than anybody else. We're elected by the community. Stuff like that can't happen. It shouldn't happen. I don't know if there's a way we
can hire somebody to, every 3 months go and look at everyone's prior emails. They find it wrong, raise it. My hope is that
you say up there.
it's like, how do you prevent a crook from being a crook? You can't.
Right.
You can pass all the laws you want.
Don't get beat up.
I like to have faith.
Okay. You got kids. I don't need to get more.
Respect the rules you have. Listen, if there's a problem, let's fall back on something. So,
I'll take one to work.
be careful, be mindful, and in doubt, call.
have one more thing. I was going through the overtime, and I was looking at the amount of overtime that Becca was doing. I was speaking with her, and she made me aware that whenever she's off the clock and if anybody calls her, that she gets paid for that. And she said that there's supervisors that has called her. There's more for awareness, just to let the supervisors know that if you call the secretary after hours, that she will be on the clock and paid for it. I don't know if them type of phone conversations should be directed more towards the manager since he's salary, or figure out a.
But isn't she the appointed secretary of the board?
Yes.
then, yeah. That was
Well,
something-
I think the issue is, so, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, if you work overtime, you get paid
Right.
overtime. I think the point that Chris is making is, if you're gonna interact with Becky, try to keep it within normal
Work hours.
business hours.
Yeah.
Correct.
Unless there's emergencies happen,
Yeah.
unless there's an emergency. And also, Emilio's very good about being responsive, on his cell phone. Again, if there's an emergency, something that's time sensitive, you do it.
Yeah, and just to keep down a lot of the costs, because I know that overtime is gonna be kinda high, and if we could trim a lot of that down, I think that's the smartest thing that we can do. It's just something as simple as calling during work hours, not after hours, unless it's absolutely needed. Yeah, that's all from my report.
All right, thank you. Mr. Santiago, your turn.
There was a couple concerns that
Thank
came. There was a couple concerns that came in regarding some of the things that some constituents want to see happen around Montora, as well as the clubhouse represented from the board. A lot of the constituents feel that the events that are happening are really good, but they want to see more of a presence of us. I told them I can only speak on myself. I know that Mata has showed up to plenty of events, so has Juan. They just want to see us pushing for them, speaking for them more against, some of the other elected officials, putting, our money where, our mouth where our money is, basically, because a lot of them feel like the county's been pushing them around, and they're not getting their benefits from it. And after some communication with them, I do understand what they're talking about. One lady, she said that someone keeps going into her yard. By the time she calls the sheriff's office and they send someone out, it's who knows how long. There has been other things where another lady has said to me that she feels that the county has all of this money to pour into LaBelle and Clewiston, but they don't do nothing for us. And as long as she has lived here in Hendrick County, she says that the only momentum that the county moves and does anything is when Central County starts telling the county, hey, we feel neglected, we feel like this. So on behalf of those residents, I did tell them that I'll bring it up at the next board meeting. To let the rest of the board members know that, we have to put that fight and put our foot down against the county and letting them know that, we're still here, there's still citizens who live here, and that they have right to the overall taxes that they get. And some of that should be put here in our community as well, not in LaBelle and just Clewiston. So I just wanted to just state that for the record.
Thanks, sir. Anything else?
Nope.
Appreciate it. Mr. Santiago, you have.
Okay, I have one thing that I want to discuss and I want to bring up. This thing I've been bringing it up many different times. I have to bring it up one more time. It's the bus stops for the children, school children here in Montura. Sometimes I go and I patrol as a volunteer, charity volunteer, early in the morning. And I see these families with kids with a flashlight. No protection at all. They don't have no shelters. If it's raining, well, tough luck. And I said to myself, shame on us. Shame on us. Because we have been talking about this for many, many times. Discussing, and we always are giving excuses. No, because the county, no, because the property, no, because it has to be a moving shelter, no, because it cannot be a stationary. We should get a solution, and we should build shelters in these bus stops, school bus stops, so the family of the children and the children should have protection from the weather, from the snakes, from anything. I believe we can do it. We can make a wood shelter or whatever, and place it in the bus stops of the school children and make it happen. know? We're spending so much money in this, we're spending so much money in festivals, we're spending so much money in, and then we don't take care of the most important thing that we have here in Montura, which is the children. So, I said to myself, shame on us, because we don't do nothing about it, okay? And I see the people, I'm driving my patrol car, volunteer patrol car, trying to help as much as I can. And I see those children, sometimes a woman with 5 children, you know, they don't have no protection. If it rains, it's pouring on them. And I was in that position because I lived here from 1996 to 2000 in Huntington, right in front of your house, South Nogala and Huntington. My wife have to go out there with the 2 doors. Okay, one was 5, the other was 7, and they have to wait for the doors. And if it was rain, they have to go into my wife's vehicle. You know, and that was in 1996, 2000. Now we are in 2022, and we are in the same situation. Well, you have been born here, Chris, and you were in that situation too. I remember your father with the pickup truck, blue pickup truck. He was my friend. And we're going through this for decades, and we don't do nothing about it. We should have, you know, the bucket should have stopped here. We should do something about it. Okay? And make it happen. I mean, we have the engineer. We should care for our children. We should vote, and we should do something about it. Let's build shelters.
So the thing is how many do we need? Where would they be placed? They're gonna be in every corner, they're gonna be every other corner. Because there's a lot of stuff that comes with that too.
I know, but let's make it happen. I mean,
The biggest thing is that after speaking with Swindle, because this was a project that I actually spoke with Home Depot and they were going to give us tables. The biggest problem is it becomes a liability for a lawsuit, and then that's number one. Number two is the bus stops change every year, so that means that if one stop is here and we have our bench here, we'll have to relocate it
we change the shelter.
another
We
location
change
every year, and then on top of that, there's a lot of bus stops that, you know, you'll have a bus stop here for a couple years, and then the kids transfer mid-year, there's no stop there anymore.
Yeah.
So, like Swindle said, was until we get a lot of lighting here in Montura and until the population stabilizes, there's really no point of putting a bus stop. We're going to be always relocating them, and it's going to become more of a benefit and more of a necessity of we have to transfer this stop, a kid just left, now we have to move the bus stop over there, and it goes with the lighting as well. So that's the reason why the ball has been going, but it hasn't been going as fast as he wants it to.
Yeah, we had that issue with the lighting with bus stops many years ago that some family move out, there's nobody at the bus stop, but then there's a light. And then some new people come to the community, move the block down, and they want to move the light over there, and it's always a back and forth deal. So it's
Some
never gonna
bus
be-
drivers are being nice enough to stop at the houses as long as you're out by the street. They are
That's true.
taking consideration for
I have
that
seen
because
it.
I forbid to put my daughter and my son out there in that dirt road when I couldn't see that at all with the dogs that are loose. But they have been nice enough to stop in front of my house
And with
to,
the wild
to
cats,
prevent some of those
snakes,
things
and
because I would forbid to put my 5-year-old out there.
Ma'am, forgive me, but we can't.
Yeah,
can't
I know,
allow-
I know.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anything else, brother?
Oh, I would like to see that we do something about it. I mean, build shelters. I mean, it's time we do something about it.
We appreciate it. My only question to you, I don't disagree. I'm not gonna try to bust your bubble, I'm gonna bust your bubble. What place in Henry County has that right now this week?
You see, that's what I'm saying with the mothers.
Who has it in Henry County?
That's how you read.
Can I say something for a half a second?
You can't, sir. Sorry. Sorry. But that's not the only thing. The other thing is there is a.
So I'm gonna answer your question.
Go ahead.
Two wrong doesn't make one right.
I didn't say that.
If they don't do it in Pioneer, that's wrong too.
They don't do it anywhere in Henry County.
Well, that's wrong. They should do it. They should do it.
So that's.
But I am no Pioneer, I'm Montura. So I have to concern. So I was elected in Montura to do things for the residents of Montura.
And what,
I mean, I am an elected official
Yes, sir.
of Montura, so I have to do things here. I cannot go there and pass a law because I don't have no authority there. It's like Mr. Iglesias, he cannot go to Miami-Dade County and try to pass a law in Miami-Dade County because he was elected in any county. So you tell me the same thing,
Yes.
no respect to you. Let's concentrate on what we do here. If they don't do it in Pioneer, that's up to them. If they don't do it in Ladica, that's up to them. But we should do it here for our kids. That's how I feel.
I think it's a great thing, so to let everybody know is we do things for our kids. So for instance, this golf tournament that we instituted a couple of years back, that Spearhead brings quite a bit of revenue for our summer camp program.
It's been a great system.
Exactly, so we are doing.
So why don't we get the money and build the shelters
Why-
for the bus stuff?
Why not get creative as a community and come up with things besides that? Because we have, this is a community. You know how most people said when we were growing up, or older, most of us are older, is it takes a village to raise a child. Where's the village?
So what are you recommending to do the shelter?
Is that we need to step up as a community as a whole because our resources are limited. Do we have it? As he just said earlier, do we have it in our budget to do bus
But if we get the money from the tournament, golf tournament, let's use it for the kids. Instead of using for something else.
We are using it for the
No,
kids.
but this is the protection of the kids.
That
This
money
is
already allocated.
build shelters.
That money goes towards the kids for the summer camp, so they have somewhere to go, something to eat, something to do.
Yeah, but this is for the safety. I mean, that's for the protection. I mean,
So do something where you can bring in
that's why I'm
revenue.
bringing it over here so we do something.
Or what you can do
You
is
don't have-
to help increase the safety for the kids. You can also testify at a county meeting and go to the sheriff's office to
I have all the deputies with umbrellas and
get
in
more
every
deputies
stuff.
out here, more deputies out here to slow down the speeders.
Don't change the conversation. We should build shelters.
So
That's shame. That's what I said.
I'm sorry, Mr. Primero, isn't it illegal for us to do shelters for the kids?
It's outside our mission. Look at the sign there, it's some kind of water.
That's roads.
Roads, private
Roads, recreation, and water.
So the bus stop will be on the roads.
That'll be hurricane proof.
That's the road. Buses go by the roads.
What else you got?
Oh, that's it. That's the only thing that I want to bring up.
I will leave my comment for next month.
And the only thing that I have is the stuff that was donated from a business here in town in reference to the basketball court. Can we try to see if we can get that installed?
Yes, sir, I'm just waiting to see if I can put together the resurfacing of the basketball court and then all that will come together. Yes.
Other than that, can I get a motion to basketball goals? Can I get a motion on the floor?
He don't
to
want to talk
adjourn the
about, when you sugar donated to the Montura kids, the basketball, backboard, and the hoops.
Can we get a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting?
One more thing real quick, is we'd like to thank everybody that's here. The last meeting only had 2 people, and today we probably had 20 plus people.
Sure.
21?
Good.
Yeah, so the board can see that more people made it to the meeting. Hopefully we can keep it. All right, thank you.
Motion on the floor to adjourn? All right, we have a motion. We have a motion on Mr. Moreno, we have a second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
That's what it said.
Congrats on that, Roberto.
And he passed away.
I don't care.
Coño, I was just telling Colette, you look just like your dad. Oh my God, my dad was his dad's friend. When they moved, my dad moved here in '77. My dad spoke no English, his dad spoke no Spanish. They were best of friends. First 30-something years from the and my dad just passed away. My dad's been here since 77. Why is it Pioneer allows you to ride golf carts? If we don't hear, can you ride on the golf cart and get tickets?
They agree to leave.
Just vote them out.
Fix their rule.
Freaking Henry County. It's a joke. They're allowed to
Let's go, Brandon.
I have 18. They have a shitload of them. They shouldn't be riding on the road.
Oh, you gonna stay tonight?
Right.
The way to identify the federal.
You gotta take it easy on them. They
Quick question, guys.
No.
I just moved here. But my dad's lived here for 44 years. I've always liked it last year.
We got here, we have a lot of people from California, 'cause they like to do it in California. I say she's gonna get me some lady, 'cause she depends where she's parked at. I'm always looking, oh, she ain't there, I'm good.
Well, Henry County, I
Hey,
call them.
you're not guilty until you're caught, right?
That's right.
I'm joining you. I've only been here less than a year, and I just got involved with this.
We've been here,
I'm sorry.
my dad's been here 44 years, but I, you know.
Yeah,
I come every
we
weekend.